Chapter 769. Seems like Tsang Konghong has some luck with women. After getting beaten up by Yu Hua, he has Mu Ran taking care of him. What a lucky bastard. But many things can happen in a dozen days. For example, in Gouda Principality, King Feng Yongzhang was receiving 2 people from Tianliang sect. They were Mu Ran's senior brother and senior sister. Junior sister Mu Ran had only left the sect for a month, but 1.5 months had passed and she was nowhere to be seen, so she had no choice but to come down the mountain to look for her. After all, junior sister was a Heaven Dao expert now, and the sect took good care of her. The 2 of them stood in the study room casually. Other than Feng Yongzhang, Ding Wenbo was beside them. Young Master Tai, Miss Yun, please take a seat. Feng Yongzhang was very polite. They were from Tianliang sect, so he had to treat them well. After all, Tianliang sect wasn't to be trifled with. And he knew why they came today. Tai Hongguang and Yunting looked indifferent, as if they didn't care about the king at all. Feng Yongzhang was angry, but he couldn't do anything about it. Where is my junior sister? Yunting asked coldly. Ding Wenbo smiled. Miss Yun, you are talking about Mu Ran, right? Did I ask you? Yunting turned to look at Ding Wenbo. The latter instantly lowered his head and cursed in his heart. A dog that relies on its master's power. Miss Yun, Mu Ran isn't in Gouda Principality now. Feng Yongzhang smiled. Tai Hongguang said solemnly, Feng Yongzhang, what is Mu Ran's status now? You should know. If you hide her or have other thoughts, you should know the consequences. Why would I? I won't have other thoughts. Feng Yongzhang quickly said, but in his heart, he wished he could cut these 2 into pieces. Every time he saw these people from Tianliang sect, he wished he could flatten them. I don't want to speak any more nonsense. Where is Mu Ran? We are going to take her away. Tai Hongguang shouted coldly. It seemed that this man and woman weren't to be trifled with. Feng Yongzhang sighed deeply. Truth be told, Mu Ran went to Wushu Empire. Wushu Empire? Yunting was puzzled. Why hadn't he heard of such a country before? Yes, this empire used to be called Lingtai country. It was occupied recently and called itself an empire. They didn't care about Tianliang sect at all. After all, they didn't report to Tianliang sect when they founded the empire. Mu Ran is merciful and doesn't want the 2 sides to fight, so he went there alone to gather information. Feng Yongzhang was a scheming person. Yunting's gaze turned cold. You actually let Mu Ran go alone. Mu Ran's temper is very stubborn, she won't give in. Right now, it has already been a month, and there is still no news from Mu Ran at all, I'm afraid. Feng Yongzhang's face was filled with worry, seemingly as if it was real. It's already been a month. Tai Hongguang growled. There had been no news of his junior sister for a month. This was probably not a good thing. After all, junior sister was now a heavenly law dojo. Feng Yongzhang nodded and said in a deep voice, I watched Mu Ran grow up. I won't let this matter rest. I've been making arrangements for sending troops these few days. Tai Hongguang and Yunting took a look at each other. Right now, finding junior sister is more important. What is there to be afraid of for a small empire? Without saying anything, the 2 walked out of the study room and flew into the sky. After seeing the 2 left, Feng Yongzhang snorted coldly. What kind of joke is this? Isn't this just relying on the Tianliang sect that is behind them? Your Majesty. Ding Wenbo, who was at the side, called out in a low voice. Speak. It is time to pave the way for the 4th prince. Ding Wenbo suggested. After hearing that, Feng Yongzhang paused for a moment, then said, Speak. Wushu Empire cannot be allowed to be destroyed by the Tianliang sect. Right now, the fourth prince needs to go on a war, and Wushu Empire is the best choice. What you said makes a bit of sense. Just now, I had also told them about the matter of sending troops out in front of them. From the looks of it, it is time for us to pave the way for Yun. Your Majesty is wise. After all, Mu Ran had the identity of a saintess in Guda Principality, and furthermore, she was also a heavenly law doja. Even if Guda Principality didn't come looking for Mu Ran, the Tianliang sect would definitely come looking for Mu Ran. It doesn't matter who comes looking for Mu Ran, I will kill every single one of them. If a group of people comes, kill them all. Let the entire Northern Liang sect know that Wushu Empire is the most stable place for them to live in. Very quickly, Tai Hongguang and Yunting found the location of Wushu Empire. Senior brother, should we go back and report this? Yunting asked faintly. Tai Hongguang appeared to be very relaxed. There is no need to report a small empire. As long as Mu Ran is still alive, we will naturally be able to snatch it back. If something happens to Mu Ran, then this Wushu Empire will have to be prepared to suffer the wrath of the Tianliang sect. Yunting replied lightly. The two of them quickly flew towards Wushu Empire. The two of them had the strength of a ranked 9 dosher, and they could basically walk unhindered in these empires. In less than an hour, the two of them saw the outline of Wushu Empire, and they couldn't help but be startled. Senior brother, is this Wushu Empire? Yunting rubbed his eyes and asked in disbelief. Tai Hongguang was a little absent-minded as well. This was the first time that he had seen such a magnificent empire. This kind of layout feels even more luxurious and imposing than my Tianliang sect. This has indeed broadened my horizons. Tai Hongguang muttered softly. Such a city was indeed something that people yearned for. Even if the Tianliang sect were to move here, it would definitely not be bad. Yunting suggested softly, Senior brother, I feel that this Wushu Empire is not ordinary. It is best that we return and report to Master and see what decision Master makes. Hearing Yunting's words, Tai Hongguang seemed to have lost a lot of face. It was as if he was frightened by the other party's imposing manner and wanted to return to find reinforcements. Therefore, Tai Hongguang wasn't afraid at all. What is there to be afraid of? They are just paper tigers. Junior sister might have been captured. Yunting paused for a moment and took a deep breath, then let us find junior sister first. Junior sister is definitely locked up in the palace now. If we directly fly to the palace to snatch her back, we might not even need to snatch her back. When they hear us say our sect, they might be scared witless. Tai Hongguang seemed to be very confident. Actually, as long as they went to other empires, the other party's king would be scared stiff and wouldn't dare to say anything. This was the strength of the Tianliang sect. In the Northern Liang sect, they were the sky. Yunting also seemed to have been influenced by Tai Hongguang and felt that what his senior brother said was right. With such a powerful Tianliang sect backing them up, what was there to be afraid of? Therefore, the two of them directly flew towards the palace. But in Wushu Empire, flying was forbidden. Anyone who dared to fly into Wushu Empire would be killed. Tai Hongguang and Yunting didn't understand and flew towards Wushu Empire without any thoughts. Only after flying did they realize that Wushu Empire was indeed magnificent. It was much bigger and longer than they had imagined. Chapter 770. Suddenly, the two of them were blocked by 4 figures. 4 white-armored warriors stood in the void, looking at the two of them with killing intent. Tai Hongguang and Yunting were slightly surprised. This was the first time he had seen a country's guard have the ability to fly. This was an ability that only a dosher possessed. Could it be that all the guards in this country were at least dosher? That was impossible. Furthermore, there isn't any fluctuation of do qi on these 4 people. How is this possible, senior? Yunting murmured, clearly asking what they should do. Tai Hongguang felt ashamed. He was actually blocked by a small empire. Tai Hongguang's hand condensed, and a long sword appeared in his hand, giving off an unbreakable aura. Meanwhile, the commoners that were entering the city looked towards the sky in puzzlement. They were able to see the sky, but they were only able to see 6 little black dots. Was this an intruder? To think that the guards of the Voidless Empire could actually fly into the sky. That was way too frightening, wasn't it? He wondered if they would be a match for those 2 people. Tai Hongguang instantly erupted with a fierce dou qi, and the long sword in his hand immediately slashed towards the 4 white-armored warriors. White Cool Chop. Any disciple of the Cold Sky sect would know this move, and Tai Hongguang felt that this move was enough. Go to hell, you scum. The 4 white-armored warriors did not move at all, and the silver sword chi pierced through their waists. Seeing this scene, Tai Hongguang felt a little proud. Beside him, Yun Ting also admired his senior. With one strike, he had killed 4 douchers from the other party. Senior brother is indeed powerful. Junior sister, look. It's just a so-so. Tai Hongguang said proudly. Senior brother, you're really amazing. Yun Ting gave him face and praised him. As expected, Tai Hongguang became even happier after hearing his junior sister's praise. However, the 2 of them realized that the 4 people opposite them were expressionless, as if they were not injured at all. Senior brother. Yun Ting had a bad premonition. Tai Hongguang also noticed the abnormality, because none of them was bleeding. How was this possible? His sword chi had pierced through their abdomens. There was actually no blood. Were they not human? White-armored warriors, they are all filled with snow water. Do you think that they have blood or not? An inconceivable scene occurred. The abdomen that had been cut off had actually merged back together. Tai Hongguang's eyes were filled with shock, while Yun Ting, who was beside him, immediately condensed a long sword. One of the white-armored warriors said coldly, barging into Wushu Empire. Die. Just as the word die was uttered, Yun Ting saw the person disappear. A section of her hair slowly fell off, as if it had been cut off by a sharp blade. Yun Ting slowly turned his head to look at his senior brother beside him. He saw his senior brother standing there in a daze, the long sword in his hand falling to the ground. His hands were covering his neck, and blood was seeping out from the gaps between his fingers. I am God. Yun Ting looked at his senior brother blankly, and before he could even finish speaking, his head slid off, and his entire body also fell onto the ground. Yun Ting could not help but shiver. He gripped the long sword in his hand tightly as he looked at the 4 white-armored warriors in front of him. They were definitely not douchers. Senior is a 9th grade doucher. It could instantly kill a 9th tier doucher. Their strength was definitely above that of a doucher. How was this possible? The guards at the city gate were actually doucher. This was simply unprecedented. Junior sister actually went to such a place alone. She must have a slim chance of survival. And me. Even my senior brother was stronger than me, and he died. Seems like it will be hard for me to escape death as well. No. I cannot die, I have to report what happened here to the sect. Yun Ting could be seen waving her sword, then without any hesitation, she turned around and ran. Her speed was so fast that it seemed as if her house was on fire. The 4 guards watched as Yun Ting ran away. One of them moved slightly, then shrunk back, as if he had received some kind of order. Soon after, he disappeared from the sky, dealt with the corpses on the ground, then continued to stand guard. Trespassing into Wushu Empire. Die. As for letting Yun Ting go, it was to let her go back and secretly report. Waiting for Tianliang sect's revenge. Yihua had already received Yuhua's report. I didn't expect that Tianliang sect would come looking for me first. Regarding Yu Hua letting one of the guards go, Yi Hua praised her, which made me very happy. Yi Hua had a feeling that there was going to be a good show to watch soon. As long as Mu Ran stayed here, they would find all kinds of excuses to attack Wushu Empire. After all, Wushu Empire was too luxurious, and many people wanted to take it for themselves. This was the human heart, it could never be satisfied. Right now, Mu Ran was taking care of Tsang Konghong. This time, Tsang Konghong was indeed beaten up quite badly by Yu Hua, to the point that he couldn't even take care of himself anymore. Mu Ran didn't dislike Tsang Konghong at all. Although she was a little embarrassed at the start, Tsang Konghong had saved her time and time again, so no matter what, I have to treat him well. After going through Yu Hua's abuse, the weight in his heart had lessened by a lot, and he didn't miss Yu Hua as much as before. However, a new problem came. This little girl. She actually saw me naked. And even wiped my body. My body, I have completely lost all my face, open your mouth, eat. Mu Ran slightly wrinkled her brows, and her tone was filled with anger. Because this Tsang Konghong was very stubborn. I fed him food, but he didn't eat, as if he was throwing a tantrum at me. Tsang Konghong was speechless. When did I need you to take care of me? Can't a grown man like me eat? Open your mouth. Did you hear me? Mu Ran was a bit angry. I have already taken care of you so much, yet I don't even know why you are throwing a tantrum. It's fine if you are throwing a tantrum, but why did you have to save me? This is a contradiction. Tsang Konghong secretly took a look at Mu Ran, and discovered that this girl's eyes were a bit red. Soon after, Tsang Konghong retracted his gaze and remained silent. After quite a while, Mu Ran stabilized her state of mind, then said lightly, "If you don't treat me well, I won't feel guilty towards you." Tsang Konghong was saying in his heart, "I am merely following orders to protect you, that wasn't my original intention. Even if you are angry, you should eat your fill first before you get angry." Mu Ran said lightly, then brought the food to Tsang Konghong's mouth once again. At this moment, Wei Chang walked into the room and coughed lightly. Wei Chang then sent a voice transmission to Tsang Konghong and threatened him, "His Honor wants you to obediently eat your fill." After hearing that, Tsang Konghong opened his mouth, and ate the food. That's right, every part of Tsang Konghong's body was big, but his facial features were small. Mu Ran let out a breath of relief and looked at Wei Chang gratefully, then began feeding Tsang Konghong mouthful by mouthful. Looking at this scene, Wei Chang revealed a smile. In actuality, Mu Ran is a good girl, she knows how to take care of people. Chapter 771. Tang Wei, who was standing outside, called Wei Chang out, then looked at the two people on the bed and asked, "Uncle Wei, do you think they have a chance?" "I don't know," Wei Chang said lightly. Right now, it could only be said that Mu Ran had a good impression of Tsang Konghong. However, Tsang Konghong doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran, she hasn't even eaten for the past few days, she is so stubborn and wants to save face. She even brushed past Yu Hua. Could it be that Mu Ran also wants to save face and let others leave in anger? I feel that Mu Ran has been very gentle these past few days, look at Mu Ran's gaze. TSK, she has completely fallen in love with her. Tang Wei laughed lightly. Look at the current Mu Ran, when she was feeding Tsang Konghong, her beautiful eyes were filled with tenderness. The most important thing was, Mu Ran didn't dislike Tsang Konghong for being ugly, this was a very big problem. After all, Tsang Konghong's face was indeed too horrible to look at, normal people wouldn't be able to take it. Tsang Konghong risked her life to save Mu Ran twice, as long as it's a kind-hearted girl, she would be touched. Wei Chang had his own opinion. In this Kangluo continent, girls were rather traditional. It was very normal for girls to devote themselves to someone when they couldn't return the favor. It's a pity, look at that Tsang Konghong, she doesn't seem to have any feelings for Mu Ran. Tang Wei said helplessly. Right now, Mu Ran has already lowered herself. As long as Song Konghong is slightly more attentive, Mu Ran definitely won't be able to run away. Where else can I find such a considerate wife? Wei Chang shook his head. Song Konghong and Yuehua just broke up. How can she fall in love with someone else so quickly? That's true, it's just that pitiful Mu Ran. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have tried to pull strings with her. Wei Chang poked Tang Wei's forehead. It's better for you to mind your own business. If you are capable, give me a child. Right now, in Guda Principality, Feng Yongzhang was currently talking to his son, Feng Yun, regarding the attack on Wushu Empire. Father, don't worry, your son will definitely return victorious. Feng Yun was very confident. His first general seemed to be about to appear, and as long as he obtained a high-level general, he would be able to sweep through everything. If he got a character like Daji, he would be even more awesome. Feng Yongzhang thought very highly of his fourth brother. He patted his son's shoulder and said, Yuner, father is waiting for your triumphant return. When the time comes, I will set up a banquet for the entire imperial city and the entire country will celebrate. I won't let you down. Emichim, good. However, according to the news from our scouts, the city walls of Voidless Empire are very tall. Is 100,000 soldiers enough? Do we need more? Feng Yongzhang was also a little worried. After all, this was OL4's first battle. If he failed, others would laugh at him. So, he must not fail this time. He could only win. Feng Yun cupped his hands and said, Don't worry, Imperial Father. 100,000 soldiers are enough. When the time comes, I will take down the head of Wushu Empire's emperor for Imperial Father to see. All right. Imperial Father will be waiting. After a pause, Feng Yongzhang continued, If you run into people from the Cold Sky sect, be careful. Imperial Father, I understand. And then go and prepare. We'll set off tomorrow. Yes. Gong Jing cupped his hands and retreated. Then, he walked out of the study, his face brimming with confidence. Destroying the Wushu Empire was the first step in his conquest of the Kangluo continent. Then, he must do it beautifully. At this moment, outside the Guda Duchy, hundreds of thousands of soldiers had already started to gather. It was a black mass of people. Everyone's face was filled with battle intent, and their aura was extraordinary. As for the powerful Guda Duchy, this was only 1/10 of their military force. This was Feng Yongzhang's practice for his son. As for whether all of them could return alive, that would depend on their own abilities. On the other side, Yun Ting, who was escaping in a hurry, was so scared that her face turned pale. She was curious why they didn't chase after her to kill her. Although she was confused, Yun Ting didn't think too much about it. Now, she could only rush to the Cold Sky sect and report this matter to her teacher and sect leader. This voidless empire was very scary. Even the guards were dodeshers. So scary. After forcefully using Do Chi to support her flight for a day, Yun Ting finally saw the Cold Sky sect. The huge pressure disappeared at this moment. It was as if she had seen her mother. Instantly, she became weak and fell at the foot of the mountain of the Cold Sky sect. The entire Cold Sky sect was located on top of a towering mountain peak. The size of the mountain was extremely huge. It seemed as if there was some kind of life being nurtured within it. Many buildings were constructed around the mountain peak, and from time to time, human figures could be seen walking around. Yun Ting's teacher was also an elder and was a well-known person in the Cold Sky sect. And the news of Yun Ting fainting at the foot of the mountain spread very quickly. Did you hear? Senior Yun fainted at the foot of the mountain today, and her corpse was picked up by a junior who was passing by. Of course I heard about it. The entire Cold Sky sect knows about it. Speaking of which, Senior Yun is so strong, why would she faint? Also, Senior Tai didn't come back. Could it be that something happened? That's possible. Otherwise, Senior Yun wouldn't rush back like this. She definitely has something to report. Hearing what you said, I feel that something big is going to happen. Sigh, maybe. But I am just curious. In this Cold Sky sect, who dares to offend my Cold Sky sect? They are really courting death. Indeed, some people are just tired of living and are looking for excitement. In Yunting's room, there were 3 people standing. 2 males and 1 female. One of them who had white hair was the Cold Sky sect master, Lan Gu. This person had silver hair and wore a green robe. There wasn't any pendant on his body, but that old face of his gave off a strong aura, making people not dare to act rashly. Standing at the 2 sides of the room were 2 middle-aged men and a woman. The man's name was Ma Ji, and he was an elder. The woman was Mu Ran's teacher, and her name was Fong Meiying. Although she was already middle-aged, she still retained her charm. Sect Master, Yun Ting just fainted due to exhausting all of his duki. He should be fine. Fong Meiying said lightly. Lan Gu slightly wrinkled his brows, and his lower jaw slightly moved. I want to know why. Ma Ji nodded his head and injected a strand of duki into Yun Ting's body. Yun Ting, who was lying on the bed, his face slightly reddened, as if he was alive again. I asked them to go down the mountain to look for Mu Ran. Why did he become like this? Also, why didn't Tai Hongguang come back? Fong Meiying said tenderly, and with a concerned gaze, she looked towards Yun Ting, who was lying on the bed. Let's ask Yun Ting later, and we will know what happened. Ma Ji, who was at the side, said softly, and his face was filled with confusion. Lan Gu took a deep breath. Looking at the situation, they should have been attacked. I am afraid that Tai Hongguang is already dead, and Yun Ting also ran back to report the news. He is so tired that his duki is completely exhausted. Chapter 772. Just as Ma Ji finished speaking, Yun Ting, who was on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. Yun Ting, who opened his eyes, was a bit confused. He turned his head and looked, and his eyes suddenly turned red. Teacher! Yun Ting cried and threw himself into his teacher Fong Meiying's embrace. Yun Ting, don't cry, teacher will help you. Fong Meiying lightly caressed Yun Ting's back and comforted him. He thought that Yun Ting must have been quite frightened. Lan Gu looked at Yun Ting with a grave expression and said slowly, Yun Ting, tell us, what happened? Why are you like this? Where is Mu Ran, and where is Tai Hongguang? Yun Ting stood up from his teacher's embrace and said while choking with sobs, Sect Master, Senior Martial Brother was killed, Junior Martial Sister Mu Ran was also captured. Hearing Yun Ting's words, the 3's expression turned gloomy. I didn't expect that someone would really anger Tianliang's sect. What guts! Not only did they kill Tai Hongguang, they even kidnapped someone from the Heaven's Law. Who is it? Who dares to do this? Ma Ji questioned angrily. For so many years, Tianliang's sect had always been the symbol of authority. I didn't expect that someone would dare to trample on this authority. Do they want to die? It's a place called Wushu Empire. Thinking of those 4 white-armored warriors, Yun Ting trembled slightly. That kind of fear was spreading in his heart, and it would accompany him for his entire life. Wushu Empire. Lan Gu was puzzled. I don't recall hearing about this place in northern Liang. Yun Ting nodded. Yes, Wushu Empire occupied the former Lingtai kingdom and transformed it into a majestic city. Guda Principality originally wanted to take it back, but Junior Martial Sister Mu Ran was kind-hearted. If she went to Wushu Empire alone, I'm afraid that she would be in danger. After Senior Martial Brother and I heard about it, we immediately rushed to Wushu Empire. We were indeed shocked by Wushu Empire, but when we entered, we met 4 guards. Fong Meiying asked confusedly, 4 guards? What kind of guards? They were the guards at the city gate. They were wearing white armor. Yun Ting recalled the scene, and his eyes revealed fear. Ma Ji asked, "You guys can fly?" "And that's impossible. How can an empire's guard be able to fly?" Ma Ji exclaimed with a face full of disbelief. Long Gu, who was at the side, was also slightly surprised and listened quietly. Yun Ting hurriedly said, "Elder Ma, Yun Ting did not lie to you." At that time, Senior and I were also curious. After all, flying is something that only a dosher can possess. Senior was not afraid, so we attacked them. At this point, Yun Ting's lips twitched like a shocked rabbit. "And then?" Long Gu asked in a low voice. "Then, their abdomen was injured by Senior Brother's sword chi, but the injury healed," Yun Ting said while trembling with fear, and his voice was trembling a bit. This sentence shocked the three of them. This was the first time they had heard of such a healing method. It was illogical. Yun Ting continued, "One of them was very fast. I didn't even feel anything before he beheaded my senior brother. Instant kill. The other party had actually instantly killed a 9th-tier dosher. How was this possible?" Even Long Gu's expression changed. A city gate guard of an empire was able to instantly kill a 9th-tier dosher. Impossible. Then how did you escape? Ma Ji asked curiously. Yun Ting cried and said, "I also don't know. At that time, I knew that I wasn't their match, so I turned around and escaped. They didn't chase after me." Fong Meiying let out a breath and said softly, "All right, rest for a while. Leave the rest to us. Teacher, that place is very evil." Yun Ting grabbed onto Fong Meiying's hand and said softly. Fong Meiying nodded her head and followed Long Gu out of the room with Ma Ji. The three of them stood outside. Long Gu stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the vast northern Liang land. "What do you guys think?" Long Gu asked indifferently. Ma Ji cupped his hands and said, "Sect leader, I feel that what Yun Ting said is true. But those 4 guards might not be real guards." "What do you mean?" Long Gu asked indifferently. "I guess that those 4 guards are definitely experts in disguise and are bluffing," Ma Ji said in a deep voice. This kind of deduction was indeed possible. "Sect leader, what Ma Ji said is not without reason. What the other party did is to make us fear them and be cautious," Fong Meiying said softly. Long Gu let out a deep breath after hearing, "Our Tianliang sect is a big sect in northern Liang. Today, our disciples were killed. Heaven's disciple was even captured. If such news were to spread, where would our Tianliang sect's face be? Seems like our Tianliang sect has not displayed our strength for too long. Let the world forget about our Tianliang sect's prestige." Along with Long Gu's words, a majestic aura spread out. Fong Meiying and Ma Ji shouted out respectfully, "Sect leader, we are willing to fight. Let the enemy pay a painful price. Let the prestige of our Tianliang sect rise." "All right. Tianliang sect has 1,000,000 disciples. I order the 2 of you to lead 100,000 disciples each and let the world see the consequences of provoking our Tianliang sect." "Yes. Yes." Fong Meiying and Ma Ji both accepted the order and went to make various arrangements. Meanwhile, Long Gu returned to the summit of the mountain and looked at the horizon with his brows slightly knitted. On the national highway of Gu Principality, 100,000 soldiers were already advancing towards Wushu Empire. At the very front of the army, Feng Yun sat on a white warhorse. The warhorse's body was wrapped in silver armor, and it looked quite imposing. Together with the silver armor on Feng Yun's body, it was done in one go, and his bearing was extraordinary. Behind Feng Yun were Xia Yu and Ding Wenbo. Ding Wenbo was here to assist Feng Yun. After all, he was worried, so he sent someone to follow him. Xia Yu was the former Lingtai kingdom's royal family, and following him was just an excuse. After all, they needed a reason to attack openly. At this moment, Feng Yun looked at his summoning time, and it was already in the countdown. Thinking about it, he was really excited. Who knew what kind of general or beauty would appear? Just thinking about it made him a little excited. He hoped that a beauty would appear first. He wanted one that could fight and warm the bed. Arrange it. As he thought about it, Feng Yun couldn't help but sway with the rhythm. Behind him, Ding Wenba and Xia Yu were very happy and confident when they saw the fourth prince. Their hearts also calmed down a lot. They were just afraid that they would encounter an idiot, and that wouldn't be good. The further north they went, the more it started to snow. The temperature also plummeted, and the speed of the 100,000 soldiers also slowed down a lot. After all, they still had to follow them with rations. Fortunately, Feng Yun had already prepared clothes to defend against the cold. Otherwise, they would definitely have to stop, and that would waste a lot of resources. Chapter 773. He wished he could kill his way over right now, cut off everyone's heads, and hang them at the city gates as a demonstration. This was the result of provoking my Cold Sky sect. Two groups of people were attacking Wusu Empire. Looking at their speed, the people from Guda Principality should be the first to arrive. After all, they were a lot earlier than Wusu Empire. However, Tianliang's sect had battleships. 10 battleships were carrying 200,000 disciples, and they were heading towards Wusu Empire. This scale was much larger than the Duchy of Guda. Even the disciples with the lowest level of cultivation were Dojia. Right now, Yi Hua was currently having an affair with his sister-in-law, and recently, he fell in love with this kind of feeling. Brother-in-law, does it feel comfortable? Qing Yutong asked coquettishly as she lightly caressed onto Yi Hua's abs. I really love it so much that I can't bear to let go of it. I wonder if Big Sister has ever touched my abs like this before. Yi Hua patted onto Qing Yutong's perky butt. Yutong, your martial arts are getting more and more profound. Didn't Yutong want to make brother-in-law happy? Yutong is still the one I like the most. Yi Hua felt very comfortable. Being served by his sister-in-law was especially comfortable. This was something that Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji were unable to achieve. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and said, Brother-in-law, then can you let Yutong feel comfortable as well? Yi Hua raised Qing Yutong's beautiful face and asked curiously, how do you want to feel comfortable? Brother-in-law, you are playing with Yutong again, you know it. Qing Yutong was extremely bashful, she felt very shy. Yutong, then beg me. Brother-in-law, you are so bad. Qing Yutong thumped onto Yi Hua's chest with her small fists, causing Yi Hua to feel great. Qing Yutong is just this charming, this kind of temperament that cannot be found on Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua's finger lightly slid across Qing Yutong's red lips and asked curiously, Yutong, what if our relationship is found out by your big sister? Brother-in-law, you're done for. Yi Hua, brother-in-law forced himself on Yutong. Yutong couldn't resist at all. Woo! Yi Hua couldn't help but smack onto Yutong's perky buttocks. Yutong, you've become more daring. Brother-in-law, it hurts. You still know pain. You should reflect deeply on your actions. I will go and take a look at the children. Yi Hua sat up and stretched out his arms. Qing Yutong pouted her small mouth and stood up. With her beautiful body exposed to the air, Qing Yutong carefully helped Yi Hua get dressed. Brother-in-law, it's a promise. Next time, you must make Yutong comfortable. Yi Hua pinched onto Qing Yutong's little face. All right, I will let you feel comfortable next time. Really? Qing Yutong was originally joking, and she didn't expect that her brother-in-law would actually agree to it. When have I ever lied to anyone? Qing Yutong, brother-in-law is acting cool again, lying to people every day. After arriving at the children's bedroom, Yihua saw that God Yi and Yi Lu were sparring with each other every day. The two little fellows were becoming more and more powerful, and it was said that they were currently researching new martial techniques by themselves and testing them non-stop. As for Ali and Yi Yan, they go out of the palace every day to play outside. They are really two extremes of character. However, Yihua didn't ask Ali and Yi Yan to be bitter. After all, they were still children, and it was still better for them to play around. In the future, they would naturally work hard to become stronger. Dad! Dad! When the two little fellows saw that their father had arrived, they both stopped. When there was no one around, they would call him father. When there was an outsider, they would call him father. Yihua nodded his head and stretched out both of his hands. God Yi stood at the same spot without moving, while Yi Lu threw herself into her father's embrace with a smile on her face, then lightly kissed onto her father's cheek. Lu, what kind of martial technique did you and Big Brother come up with today? Yihua hugged onto his daughter and sat in the pavilion at the side. Yi Lu laughed lightly. Dad, Big Brother and I are still continuously pondering, and we should be able to come up with a powerful martial technique. The two of you have done well, Father rarely has to worry about you. Yihua gave a verbal praise to the two of them. This caused God Yi, who was standing at the side, to reveal out a happy smile. To be praised by my father, that is a kind of acknowledgement, which means that I and my sister didn't put in so much effort for nothing. After hearing that, Yi Lu was also very happy. She kissed her father again, then snuggled into her father's embrace. After a period of time, the two of you will have a long-term mission. Yihua said faintly. This idea had always been lingering in his mind. On one hand, it was to train the two of them to be independent, and on the other hand, it was to let the two of them have their own space to think. However, right now, Yihua just didn't know what Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi were thinking about. Because this was a long-term mission, it might be 10 years before he could see the children. To be honest, Yihua also didn't have the heart to do that. However, my child has already grown up, and an eagle should be set free. If the eagle were to always stay by my side, it wouldn't be able to accomplish anything great. Daddy, is this for real? God Ye's eyes sparkled with excitement as if he had been longing for this for a long time. Yihua nodded. Daddy, what's the mission? Yi Lu asked curiously. Daddy had finally given her a mission, which meant that she had grown up. Yihua said gravely, the duration of this mission is rather long, and the two of you will have to stay outside for a very long period of time. Perhaps, when we meet again, the two of you will already be as tall as me. Hearing their father's words, the two little fellows were stunned for a moment, and then the excitement in their eyes faded away. Yi Lu hugged his father tightly, seemingly reluctant to let him go. God Yi looked reluctant as well, walking to the side and hugging his father's arm. Looking at the reluctance of his son and daughter, Yihua let out a deep breath. You are all good children, but you will all have your own sky. As your father, I hope that you will be strong and independent. Understand? God Yi and Yi Lu took in a deep breath, then said in unison, Daddy, we understand, we accept Daddy's mission. Yihua patted onto the little fellow's head. Daddy still has to get your mommy's approval, otherwise your mommy might ignore Daddy. The two little fellows didn't say anything, seemingly a bit heavy. Yihua stood up. The two of you should think about it properly. Otherwise, you can leave after a few years, properly accompany your mommy. Daddy, we understand. Yihua smiled in gratification, then walked out of the children's bedroom. Looking at their father leaving, Yi Lu said slowly, Brother, let's go accompany mommy. The two little fellows also realized that they had been training every day and didn't spend much time with their mother. If they were to really leave, they would be reluctant to part with their mother. Thus, while they still had some time left, they should make the best use of the time to accompany their mother. Walking in the palace, Yi Hua's brows slightly wrinkled. If I really let all the children leave, Qingye and Baiji would probably scold me to death. After all, Kangluo continent wasn't a place to play around. Back then, even my main body had fallen, let alone the children. However, this was also for the sake of tempering their minds. I still have to harden my heart. Chapter 774. Long live His Majesty. The two black-armored soldiers at the door shouted respectfully. Yi Hua silently walked into the palace, and to his surprise, he discovered that Mu Ran was currently supporting Blue Sky Red as they walked. This surprised me a little. It seemed like Song Konghong had finally let go of Yu Hua. It was true that Song Konghong let go of Mu Ran, but he had no choice but to be served by Mu Ran. He couldn't hurt her, so he could only listen to her. Cough. Yi Hua coughed lightly. When Mu Ran saw the emperor at the door, she immediately knelt down and shouted, "Long live the emperor! Get up!" "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yi Hua walked towards the garden at the side and sat on the pavilion in the middle. Mu Ran hurriedly poured a cup of tea for Yi Hua. Mu Ran had no way to deal with this temperamental emperor. "After staying here for so many days, have you gotten used to living here?" Yi Hua asked faintly while sipping a mouthful of tea. Mu Ran stood on one side, slightly bowed her head and said, "I'm fine." Yi Hua looked towards Song Konghong who was behind Mu Ran and asked, "You seem to treat this bodyguard of yours quite well. Have you taken a fancy to him?" Mu Ran, this was the first time that an emperor had asked her such a question. Mu Ran was a little flustered and did not know what to say. Song Konghong who was behind Mu Ran was startled as well. Why did His Honor ask Mu Ran this question? How could Mu Ran possibly like me? Seeing that Mu Ran did not speak, Yi Hua said in a light voice, "That's true, who would like someone who is so ugly?" Sky Red's attack indicated that it had received 10,000 damage. "Your Majesty, it's not like what you said. Although Song Konghong's looks aren't good, he's kind-hearted." Mu Ran hurriedly said. Yi Hua sneered, "There are a lot of people who have a kind heart. You are talking back to me again. Your Majesty, please forgive me. Looks like I'll have to punish this guard of yours again. Compared to punishing you, punishing him will make your heart ache more." Mu Ran was startled. She cursed herself and hurriedly lay down. "Your Majesty, I spoke out of turn. Please don't punish Blue Sky Red anymore. His injuries haven't healed yet." "Oh. Are you saying that I can be punished just because I've recovered?" Mu Ran was a bit on the verge of collapsing. "Which emperor is this? Alright, get up. I was just joking with you," Yi Hua said faintly. This Mu Ran, she really can't take a joke at all. She has a serious look on her face. Mu Ran let out a sigh of relief, stood up slowly, and said respectfully, "Thank you, Your Majesty." At least he knew how to talk. "Your Duchy of Gouda has already sent troops here." "Ah!" Mu Ran cried out in surprise. "We'll be able to reach it by tonight. Hundreds of thousands of people." Yi Hua said faintly, not taking it to heart in the slightest. In fact, he was even a little happy. It's finally here. I, the Supreme Overlord, have already waited for a very long time. Mu Ran knelt down again, "Your Majesty. It must be because I've been here for too long that the king is like this. Your Majesty, don't be rash. Also, the Heavenly Cold sect has also sent 200,000 disciples over. They should arrive today." These words made Mu Ran's ears ring. The Cold Sky sect had also come, and it was 200,000. How was this possible? "Your Majesty, please allow me to go out of the palace and negotiate with them, if not," Mu Ran said in panic. "It would be good if this matter was explained clearly. There is basically no need for us to fight each other." Before Mu Ran could finish her words, Yi Hua interrupted her. What? Do you think I'm afraid of them? Your Majesty, it's not like that. This is all a misunderstanding. As long as I explain it to them, they won't attack this place. Yi Hua laughed lightly, childish. You think they're here for you? They are just looking for an excuse. That's right, I forgot to tell you, a few days ago, there were two reckless people who trespassed into Wushu Empire's airspace. One died, and the other ran away. They should be people from your heavenly cold sect. Mu Ran slowly raised her head and looked towards Yi Hua, and shock could be seen in her eyes. Your Majesty, why did you want to kill them? Mu Ran, why did you have to ask such a stupid question? My door is wide open and welcomes everyone, and yet, they trespassed into my airspace by flying. By letting one of them go, it should be considered as giving you face. Yi Hua said faintly. Letting one of them go is just so that she can go back and report to me, not because I'm giving you face. Mu Ran's beautiful face was at a loss. For two heavenly cold sect's disciples to come and look for me, it is very likely that they are my senior brother and senior sister. This Wushu Empire is incomparably strange, the door is wide open, and you two can come in. Why did you two have to fly? Your Majesty, was the one who died a man or a woman? Mu Ran asked in a low voice. It's a man. No wonder heavenly cold sect would send out 200,000 disciples over, it must be for the sake of taking revenge. And they had already misunderstood that I was tied up here, and that's why they did this. All of this is because of me. Looking at Mu Ran's sad expression, Yi Hua asked curiously, my people killed heavenly cold sect's people, don't you want to take revenge now? I can't defeat you. Mu Ran said lightly. She was very clear of her current situation. If she were to take revenge, then everyone else would have to die. At least you have some self-awareness. There will be a huge battle tomorrow, do you have any thoughts on it? Yi Hua asked. Your Majesty, I will be able to end this battle, please believe me. Hee, Mu Ran, you are looking down on me too much. After finished speaking, Yi Hua stood up and left the place. The teacup on the stone table was still giving off steam. Mu Ran sat on the ground in a daze, and her gaze was lifeless. Heavenly Cold Sect and Gouda Principality both came over, and they brought along 300,000 people, and within this Wushu Empire, just how many guards are there? They have never even seen a regular army before, so how can they possibly be a match for 300,000 people? When the time comes, the ones who are going to suffer will still be the commoners. Song Konghong looked at the despondent Mu Ran and wrinkled his brows. He slightly bent his body, seemingly wanting to grab onto Mu Ran's tiny wrist and pull her up. However, he hesitated, and in the end, he still stood at the side and watched. His honor did not say that this battle will end, I still have to protect her. Yi Hua returned to his bedroom, and he was looking forward to their arrival. Just when he walked into the bedroom, he heard the joyful voices of his wife and child, and they seemed to be talking about something interesting. Walking in, Yi Hua saw that it was actually God Yi and Yi Lu who were accompanying his mother. Looking at the smile on Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's face, Yi Hua had not seen this smile for a very long time. He remembered that back then, when Yi Yan had just been born, Qingye had such a smile on her face. However, the second child gave birth to 2 ice cubes. They spent all day brandishing their weapons and rarely played around with their mother. On the other hand, Ali and Yi Yan knew how to please their parents. Towards God Yi and Yi Lu's reaction today, the two mothers did not think too much about it, and they simply immersed themselves in the happy atmosphere. Daddy. When the 2 little fellows saw that their father had returned, they greeted out respectfully. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji blinked their beautiful eyes towards Yi Hua, seemingly saying that they were especially clingy today. Chapter 775. Where are Ali and Yen He? Are they not back yet? Yi Hua asked curiously. I don't know where they ran off to, Qinya said tenderly while hugging onto her daughter Lu. Meanwhile, Yi Lu was currently snuggling into her mother's embrace. Because father said that the next time I see mother, I might already be as tall as mother. Right at this moment, Dong Huangli brought her little brother back. Dad, Mom, Ollie is back. Dong Huangli already had the appearance of a beautiful woman. In a few more years, she would probably be even more beautiful than her mother. Yi Yan was also a handsome guy right now. He would always have a smile on his face. When he grows up, he will definitely be a warm man. However, the two little fellows discovered that their little brother and little sister were different today. They are actually acting spoiled in their mother's embrace. Did the sun rise from the west today? The two of you, come over, I have something to say to the two of you. Yi Hua said towards Ali and Yi Yan. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji were a bit confused. Yi Hua's tone was a bit strange. Yi Lu and God Yi knew what their father wanted to say. Meanwhile, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan followed their father out with a look of confusion. The three walked on the gravel path outside the bedroom. Ali, Yan, the two of you have grown up. Dong Huangli and Yi Yan took a glance at each other. What does father mean? It is very obvious. A mission is coming. Yes. Dad, you can be at ease, we promise to complete the mission. Dong Huangli vowed. There is nothing in this world that Ali can't complete. Yi Hua smiled and nodded, then patted onto Yan Er's head. The mission this time is different. Dad, what's different? Yi Yan asked curiously. Dad brought the two of you to watch 007 in the past, right? Dong Huangli and Yi Yan were delighted. They love this kind of special agent mission the most. Ali, Yan the mission duration is a bit long. Yi Hua said gravely. Dong Huangli asked curiously, Dad, is it very long? Could it be a month? Big sister, how can it be a month? At most, it will be half a month. Yi Yan said with a smile. Yi Hua sighed lightly, then said slowly, if it is long, it might be 10 years. During these 10 years, the two of you will be wandering outside. Hearing what their father said, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan stopped their footsteps, and their tears immediately flowed out. Father, don't you want Ali and Yan anymore? Dong Huangli felt that it had been a very long time since she last cried. Yi Yan, who was at the side, was also crying bitterly. He wasn't excited at all. Yi Hua immediately squatted down and lightly hugged onto Ali and Yan. Ali, Yan, the two of you can't always live under my halo. In the past, I have already talked to the two of you about this. Woo, but Daddy, it's been too long. What should I do if I miss you? What should I do if I miss Mommy? Dong Huangli said while choking with sobs. Yeah, Yan will miss it very much too. Yi Hua took a deep breath, then said to his son, a man's ambition is to travel far and wide. Yan, you have to understand. Ali, although you are a girl, you are still my daughter. Just like Yan and the others, I hope that you all can understand. But Daddy, Ali can't bear to part with you. Dong Huangli's tears wetted her father's imperial robe. How could Yi Hua be willing to do that? However, he had to steal his heart. You can also give up the mission, but your brother and sister have already agreed. Yi Hua decided to provoke the two of them. These two little fellows are really sticking on to their parents, and Yi Hua was worried that they would have bad habits in the future. Sure enough, after hearing what Yi Hua said, Dong Huangli rubbed her eyes. Really? Both brother and sister have agreed. And Yi Hua nodded his head. Daddy. Yan also agrees. Yi Yan immediately expressed his stance. Since both brother and sister have agreed, how could he, as the big brother, possibly fall behind? There are no cowards in Yi family. Good, this is Daddy's good son. Yi Hua said with a smile. Dong Wangli was still choking with sobs. Daddy is good and bad. Since Ali has completed Daddy's mission, Daddy must give her a reward. Alright, whatever Ali wants, Daddy will give it to you. Yi Hua lightly wiped away his daughter's tears. In that case, Ali wants to stay by Daddy's side forever. Among the 4 children, Dong Wangli was the one who liked her father the most, and also the one who cherished her father the most. After all, in the beginning, Dong Wangli didn't have any fatherly love, and now that she did, she was very happy. Hearing what his daughter said, Yi Hua hugged onto Ali once again. All right, Daddy agrees. And Daddy cannot lie to Ali. When have Daddy ever lied to anyone? Yi Hua lovingly pinched onto Dong Wangli's cheeks. Dong Wangli's baby fat cheeks had long disappeared, and right now, Dong Wangli's face had already turned into a small oval face. Alright, let's go back and accompany your mother more. Yi Yan nodded his head. Daddy, does Mommy know about this matter? Daddy hasn't told Mommy about this matter yet. I will tell Mommy about it tonight. Yi Hua was also planning to let the children accompany their mother, and then set off 1 month later. Dong Wangli said worriedly, Daddy, you have to tell Mommy about it then. If not, Mommy will definitely not allow you to go. And, Daddy knows. Yi Hua let out a light breath. Qingye and Dong Wang Baiji will definitely quarrel with me. What a headache. Dong Wang Baiji brought the 2 little fellows into the bedroom, and when Dong Wang Baiji saw that her daughter's eyes were red, she asked, Ali, why are you crying? Mommy. Ali pounced onto Dong Wang Baiji's embrace, while Yi Yan pounced onto Qingye's embrace. The 2 goddess-like women who were hugging onto their son and daughter discovered that something was wrong. Yi Hua stood at the side and remained silent, not knowing what to say. The night gradually descended, and with the information provided by White Bones, Yi Hua knew that the enemy army was still 20 miles away from Voidless Empire, and they had already set up camp and were resting. They would probably attack tomorrow morning. On the other side, the Tianliang sect was ready to go. After listening to Yi Hua's words, Yi Hua started pondering. This is my first battle after coming to Kangluo continent. I have to do it beautifully. They had waited for several months for this battle. Their numbers had to come up. At the very least, after this battle, the total population would reach 50%. As for how to fight tomorrow, to be honest, I haven't thought about it yet. It was a one-sided victory. It was still a semi-one-sided victory. Or should it be like before, giving a little hope and then a little despair? I've already played this trick before. I have to think of something more interesting, only then will I be able to display my majesty. Yi Hua, who was lying on the soft bed, was pondering. Right now, both Qingye and Dong Wang Baiji had already taken a bath, and they were currently wearing light pajamas as they walked over. Both of them were calmly leaning against their husbands' sides. As for Yi Hua, he naturally hugged his wives. Yi Hua, I feel that there is something wrong with the children today. Dong Wang Baiji said in a low voice. Chapter 776. Listening to the conversation between the 2 women in his embrace, Yi Hua felt that there was a need to talk to them. Because I plan to send them out. Yi Hua said faintly. Qingye and Dong Wang Baiji clearly did not understand what Yi Hua meant. Give it away. Where are we going? Qingye asked puzzledly. Yi Hua lightly caressed onto Qingye's cheek, a very far away place. Dong Wang Baiji immediately sat up and asked sternly, Yi Hua, what is the meaning of this? In the past, I have also told you all that my child is different from others. From a young age, he has to learn to be independent. Now, it is about time for him to do so. Hearing what Yi Hua said, the 2 wives looked at their husbands blankly. You want the children to leave us? Chinya's tone became a bit cold, to the point where it seemed like she was about to quarrel with Chinya. Don't even think about it. Dong Huang Baiji was even more straightforward. Ali is only 8 years old, and my son, God Yi, is only 5 years old. How is it possible for such a young child to walk in this kind of world? What if something happened? How could there be such a cruel father? Yihua had long known that the two of them would have this kind of emotion. Which mother would be willing to part with their child? Thus, Yihua didn't blame them. They have all agreed to accompany you for a month, and then they will set off. Yihua said gravely. In actuality, I am also reluctant to do this, but for the sake of the children's future, I must do this. Chinya said coldly, no wonder God Yi and Yi Lu seem to have become completely different people today. Dong Huang Baiji even shook Yihua and said with a choking tone, you heartless person. Where are you going to send my daughter and son? Yihua paused for a moment. In actuality, he had long thought of what to do. In the south, there are a few very formidable powers, and they are my old rivals in the past. I am preparing to let them sneak into the south to train. After I clean up all of the powers in the north, I will prepare to take action. Chinya looked at her husband blankly and shouted out, Yehua. You actually used your own child to take revenge. Are you even human? You too. Am I taking advantage of the children? I am giving them a better space to develop. If they stay by our side, what can they develop? What if the child becomes an ignorant and incompetent person in the future? Yihua shouted out gravely. How can I, the Supreme Overlord, possibly use a child to take revenge? How long are you going to take my child out of here? Yihua, let me tell you. 1 month at most. If not, I will hate you. Dong Huang Baiji cried for real. Yihua said gravely, if it's fast, it would be around 10 years. Chinya and Dong Huang Baiji were stupefied, then shouted out in unison, Yihua. I'm telling you. Unless we die, don't even think about taking them away. After finished speaking, Chinya and Dong Huang Baiji got off the bed and left. Looking at their actions, they were definitely going to look for the children. This was too much. When Yihua saw his wives walking out angrily, he didn't step forward to explain anything. After all, this was within his expectations. Lightly rubbing onto his forehead, Yihua felt a bit annoyed. If I insist on letting the children leave, I reckon that the children will not give me a good look for the next 10 years. Forget it, I'll just coax him a little when the time comes. This child will definitely be a little uncomfortable when he leaves his parents' side. Wasn't it the same for the main body? Sigh. I should just have a good sleep, there are still important things that I have to do tomorrow. Chinya and Dong Huang Baiji directly went to the children's bedroom. After that, the two mothers hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. The little fellows had all fallen asleep, and the mothers didn't say anything and just hugged onto their children and bawled loudly. This is so strange. Holding on to the children's hands, Chinya said with her beautiful eyes that were red and swollen, Yen-er, Lu-er, come with mother, that heartless father of yours is going to send the two of you to a faraway place, and he won't allow us to see each other anymore. Ali, Shin-er, let's go back together. Don't bother about that heartless father anymore. Dong Huang Baiji said with pain in her heart. Yihua actually had such a terrifying idea. Dong Huangli wiped off her mother's tears and said lightly, Mother, we have already promised father. Yi Yan lightly hugged onto his mother, Mother, actually, we have been waiting for this day for a very long time. Hearing what the children said, the two mothers were stupefied. Yi Lu held onto her mother's hand and said lightly, Mother, we are the children of the Supreme Overlord, we cannot compare ourselves with other children. We have to work hard 100 times, 10,000 times, only then will we be able to bring honor to Father. This time, Father has given us a chance. Big brother and big sister are very happy, just that we are very reluctant to part with father and mother. Although God Yi didn't say anything, he lightly snuggled into his mother's embrace. In the next 10 years, he might not be able to hug his mother anymore. After Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi heard what Yihua said, they were certain that Yihua had brainwashed the children. For the entire night, Donghuang Baizhi had been persuading the children not to go, and in the end, the children were all unwilling to go. This caused Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi to become even angrier. I don't know how Yihua managed to make the children so unswervingly loyal to him. On this night, the two mothers accompanied the children to sleep, while Yihua was thinking about how he should deal with the matter that was in front of him. In actuality, there were still two people who didn't sleep, and they were Mu Ran and Song Konghong. Mu Ran sat in the pavilion outside and looked at the full moon in the night sky while pondering about a problem. Meanwhile, Song Konghong stood at the side and carefully protected Mu Ran. After all, his honor's order cannot be forgotten. Mu Ran knew that Song Konghong was standing right beside her. Although Mu Ran didn't say anything, Mu Ran was still surrounded by a sense of security. As long as Song Konghong was by her side, Mu Ran wouldn't be afraid of anything. The night gradually faded, and the sky gradually turned bright. Today was the day that Wushu Empire would become famous. Commoners were already appearing on the streets one after another. However, they discovered that the city gate was actually not open today, and there were even rows of guards standing below the city wall, seemingly waiting for something. Everyone was curious. What is going to happen? The number of guards on the city wall had doubled compared to before. Furthermore, some of the patrolling guards were asking all of the commoners to go back to their houses. Could it be that a war is going to start? Right now, all of the commoners were starting to worry. If Wushu Empire loses, then the beautiful life that we have right now would be destroyed once again. I hope that Wushu Empire doesn't lose. Right now, Wushu Empire had finished all of their preparations, and right now, all that was left was to wait for the enemy to come. Right now, Yihua was wearing a yellow gown. Forget about the crown, Yihua feels that it doesn't look good on me. I might as well put on some hair wax. However, Yihua didn't summon his subordinates like how he usually did. There is no need to make such a big deal out of a small matter like this. Low-key, Yihua didn't go and look for his subordinates, and instead went to look for Mu Ran. His meaning was very clear, he wanted Mu Ran to follow him to take a look. Upon hearing that, Mu Ran became joyous. I think that the Emperor wants me to go and explain things to the Emperor. Is Yihua like this? Chapter 777. As a bodyguard, Song Konghong naturally followed behind Mu Ran. Mu Ran did not stop Song Konghong from following, as though he was used to Song Konghong standing guard. The three of them walked onto the royal road and headed towards the city wall. Climbing a flight of stairs that was more than 100 zhang high, a table had already been set up, and breakfast was placed on it. Speaking of breakfast, ever since Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi went out last night, they had yet to return. I reckon that they must be very angry. He had originally wanted to bring them up to show off, but it seemed like that was not going to happen. My Emperor. Today, it was the blood race sisters, Serena and Serena. This had been decided a long time ago. They were considered new faces, so it was easier for them to show up. Yihua took a look at the two sisters who looked exactly the same as him and felt that LV Tao, that fellow, is lucky. I heard that he had been cuckolded in the past, but I didn't expect that after being cuckolded, he would still have such luck. Looking at this pair of twins, every detail was exactly the same. It was really hard to tell who was the older sister and who was the younger sister. Today, they even wore a sexy red maid outfit. Interesting. Actually, LV Liang was often confused as well. Even though they had been together for so long, her younger sister, Serena, was much more mischievous. However, as long as she put on an act, she would be exactly the same as her older sister. She would often get one wrong, but it was precisely this feeling that made her feel good. You guys will never understand how great it is to be the subordinate of a supreme being. Not only is this boss valiant, he also knows how to find wives for his subordinates. Where else can you find such a good boss? There isn't one in this entire world. Yihua slowly sat on the chair. Serena respectfully poured fine wine for Yihua, and her big sister Serena was at the side arranging the tableware. Mu Ran stood at the side, looking at the endless snow. Reporting to my emperor. We'll be there in an hour. White Bone's voice suddenly resounded in the air. This gave Mu Ran a fright. She didn't know where this person was talking to. Just how many powerful subordinates did the emperor have? Got it. This subordinate will take his leave. Yihua looked at the delicacies in front of him. All of them were made by the blood demon. Right now, these delicacies are becoming more and more in line with my taste. Especially this jianbing fruit. The taste is exactly the same as the jianbing fruit, and the jianbing fruit has a bit of warmth to it. This blood demon sure knows how to make me happy. Mu Ran, sit. Yihua said faintly. I wouldn't dare. If I tell you to sit, then sit. Do you really have to make this empress unhappy? Yihua said in a low voice. The matters at home are already vexing enough, and today, I finally have a chance to change my mood. Mu Ran muttered in her heart as she slowly sat down beside him. Eat. Yihua said indifferently, then picked up a pancake that had eggs and ham added on. He took a big bite. How fragrant. Mu Ran also picked one up and handed it to Blue Sky Red. Yihua and the Blood Tribe sisters naturally saw this action of hers. TSK, TSK, TSK. It seemed that Mu Ran had taken it to heart. However, Zhang Konghong was still in a daze. He was so stupid that he could die. Mu Ran lightly took a bite, and felt that this strange food was indeed delicious. I really want to ask how this food is made, and in the future, I can also make it for her. Thinking of this, Mu Ran shook her head. How could she think like this? Mu Ran, when they come later on, what are you going to do? Yihua finished off Mu Ran in 1 or 2 moves, then leaned on the throne and asked casually. Mu Ran paused and said, Your Majesty, please believe in Mu Ran. Alright, this empress will believe you this once. But what if they insisted on attacking? You think you can stop an army of 300,000? Or is it safer for me to keep you here? Mu Ran remained silent after hearing what the emperor said. What the emperor said is right. If I am here, they might not make a move, but if I am outside, they will be able to make a move without any restraints. Yihua looked at Mu Ran and seemed to be a bit silent, then said faintly, I am naturally not afraid of them. It is fine for me to keep all of them here today. I want their blood to dye this snowfield red. What a magnificent scene that would be. After hearing what the emperor said, Mu Ran felt that the emperor was bragging. 300,000 people, how can you possibly stop them? Your Majesty, just let Mu Ran give it a try. Mu Ran will use my life as a guarantee. Yihua laughed. Mu Ran, are you saying that if I fail, your life will belong to me? That's right, Mu Ran will definitely be able to persuade them to retreat. All right. I will believe you this once, but Mu Ran, let me tell you this. If you fail, then don't blame me for being ruthless. These 300,000 people cannot be returned. Yihua said coldly, and a surge of killing intent immediately erupted out from his body. Mu Ran said respectfully, Mu Ran understands. Just that, Mu Ran didn't take Yihua's last few sentences to heart. I thought that it was the emperor's joke, and I can only rely on myself to convince them. Suddenly, black dots appeared on the snowfield that stretched as far as the eye could see. Looking at these black dots, Yihua was a bit excited. They are finally here. That's right, the people who are coming are from Gouda Principality. The fourth prince, Feng Yun, was riding his horse at the front, and his expression was a bit astonished. Not only Feng Yun, Ding Wenbo and Xia Yu who were at the side were the same as well. There were even a lot of soldiers who were rubbing their eyes, as if they were looking at a mirage. This is Lingtai Kingdom, Xia Yu said in disbelief. In my memory, Lingtai Kingdom's walls were made of wood, but looking at the walls right now, the walls are dazzling with gold and jade, the walls are 300 meters tall, and the imposing aura it gives off makes people feel intimidated. This is simply even more majestic than Gouda Principality. If I were to take over Lingtai Kingdom and become the king of Lingtai Kingdom, how awesome would that be? Xia Yu, is this really Lingtai Kingdom? Feng Yun mumbled, not daring to believe what he saw. Replying to General, this is indeed Lingtai Kingdom, Xia Yu said respectfully from behind. Unbelievable. Ding Bowen muttered with a face filled with astonishment. After the astonishment, Feng Yun revealed a light smile. I was just worrying about not having a good city. After I take over Lingtai Kingdom, I will be able to use the city for myself. As for this Xia Yu, after making use of him, I will be able to leave with a peace of mind. Dying on the battlefield, this idea isn't bad. Very quickly, the 100,000-strong army entered into the shooting range of the bow and arrow and stopped. Yihua waved his hand, and an old man picked up an ordinary bow and arrow, then pulled the bow and shot the arrow in one go. Everyone looked at the bow and arrow drawing a beautiful arc in the air. After that, the arrow landed 3 meters away from Feng Yun's horse. Feng Yun immediately burst into laughter. His laughter caused everyone behind him to burst into laughter as well. Amidst the laughter, a row of white-armored soldiers shouted towards the sky. Those who cross the line, die. Right after Feng Yun finished speaking, the drummers at the back started beating the drums. Dong, dong, dong. The drumming sounds were earth-shattering, seemingly piercing through the entire world, causing everyone to be excited. Even the commoners in the city wanted to rush out and fight on the battlefield when they heard the drumming sounds. Of course, this was bad news for the enemy. Their laughter was drowned out by the drumming sounds, and when the enemy heard the drumming sounds, their morale immediately dropped by a lot. Chapter 778. Just as Feng Yun was scolding himself for not bringing a band with him, a black sound suddenly rang out. The sound was so loud that it actually overpowered the sound of the drums. Yihua stood up with a smile on his face. Battleship. This is a bit interesting. I haven't seen this thing for a long time, I really miss it a bit. Mu Ran, who was at the side, also looked towards the sky with a taut face. The people from Tianliang's sect are here. Feng Yun raised his head and stared at the dark sky, his brows slightly wrinkled. This seems to be the sound of the battleship's horn. General. This should be the people from Tianliang's sect. Ding Wenbo, who was at the back, reminded softly. Feng Yun really didn't expect that the people from Tianliang's sect would also want to get a share of the loot. Right now, I am still relatively weak, I cannot let Wuliang's sect discover anything. But to Xia Yu, the more people the better, this way, it will be more stable. Suddenly, 10 enormous battleships surged down from the clouds. As if they had broken through the clouds, they brought along traces of clouds and mist. This kind of scene was very spectacular, and it was very ostentatious. The 10 battleships were arranged neatly, just like an enormous tortoise shell in the sky. The flag of Wuliang's sect was hung on the poles, and there seemed to be a lot of people standing on the deck. They were densely packed. At the start, these people were very excited, but after seeing the scene, they became astonished. From the sky, one could have a good view of Wushu Empire. The first feeling. The second feeling. The second feeling. The big. The third feeling. The long. Is this Wushu Empire? Is this still an empire? This is simply even grander than my Tianliang sect. Looking at this dazzling city and that towering palace, this is undoubtedly showing off my heroism. Especially that city wall, it is so tall, when people stand below it, they are just like ants. Ma Ji and Fang Meiying, who were leading the group, were a bit astonished. Hearing Yunting say it was one thing, but seeing it for themselves was another thing. At the start, they even felt that Yunting was exaggerating a bit, but looking at it now, they realized that Yunting was not exaggerating at all. Furthermore, Yunting even said it tactfully, fearing that he would hurt Tianliang's sect's morale. Elder Fang, this Wushu Empire is not ordinary. Ma Ji lightly stroked his beard and said faintly while staring at the man who was wearing an emperor robe on the city wall. Fang Meiying nodded silently. Elder Ma, we should be more cautious. Mu Ran is still in their hands. Yes, but it's a good thing that the Duchy of Gouda is here. Ma Ji smirked. Those people could be used as cannon fodder. Fang Meiying knew what Ma Ji meant, so she silently agreed. If it was really a trap, the ones who would die would be those ordinary people. Her own sect's disciples wouldn't have to die. Come down. Fang Meiying said indifferently. She did not choose to enter through the air because she had a bad premonition. If they attacked from the sky, they would be too densely packed. As long as they destroyed 10 of the battle arcs, they would be finished. Yihua looked at the battleship that was slowly descending, and a dense mass of people walked down from the battleship. The number of people walking down from the battleship was double that of the people in Gouda Principality. Looking at the battleship from the top of the city wall, the scene was indeed a bit spectacular. Do you recognize all of these people? Yihua asked curiously. Mu Ran nodded and said, I know them all. Introduce them to me. Mu Ran exhaled deeply. The general of Gouda Principality is 4th Prince Feng Yun. Feng Yun, what do you think of this person? Feng Yun is the most outstanding among the princes, and the king also has the intention to give the position of crown prince to Feng Yun. Mu Ran said respectfully. I understand now, this Feng Yun wants to come back and become the crown prince. His idea is not bad, just that, he doesn't use his brain. Yihua lightly leaned on the city wall and looked at Mu Ran with a playful expression. Mu Ran remained silent. This emperor is so smart, he guessed it so quickly. What about the people from Tianliang sect? Mu Ran said gravely, the people from Tianliang sect are my teacher, Fang Meiying, and Ma Ji, Elder Ma. Since your teacher is here, you have to persuade them, if not, your teacher is going to fall here today. I am not joking with you. Yihua said indifferently while looking down at the army that was not far away. With 300,000 people lined up, the scene is truly grand. However, it is useless to have so many people, I can deal with them with just a snap of my fingers. However, that is too easy for you all. Without any fluctuations in your hearts, how can you all display despair and fear? Hearing what Yihua said, Mu Ran was a little unconvinced and said lightly, my teacher is a rank 1 Do Huang, and Elder Ma is also at the peak of the King realm, he is also just a step away from becoming a Do Huang. Alright, stop explaining, in my eyes, they are all the same, salted fish. Yihua said indifferently. Mu Ran pursed her lips. This is the most boastful emperor that I have ever seen. On the other side, Feng Yun jumped down from his horse and obediently came to the front of Tianliang sect's army. I am Gouda Principality's 4th Prince Feng Yun, greetings to the 2 seniors. After Feng Yun finished speaking, he cupped his hands. He was very low-key and did not have the airs of a prince at all. However, in his heart, he secretly swore, I will return this scene to you all sooner or later. I, Feng Yun, am a transmigrator with a system, the heavens have destined that I will become popular in the entire Kangluo continent. Ma Ji took a look at Feng Yun, then ignored him. On the other hand, Fang Meiying nodded her head towards Feng Yun. Gouda principality sure is considerate. Of course, of course. Feng Yun lowered his head and replied while cursing in his heart. Afterward, Feng Yun felt awkward. The other party seemed to have stopped talking, and I have been lowering my head like this. It seems like I am a joke. Furthermore, I am doing this in front of 300,000 soldiers. I have truly lost all my face. Elder Ma, could it be that this is a trap? As a woman, Feng Meiying was rather vigilant. Ma Ji didn't act impulsively and said to Feng Yun, "Go and get someone to pass the message." Feng Yun didn't dare to say anything and directly obeyed the order. In his heart, he wished that he could get rid of these two fellows. After returning to his own camp, Feng Yun immediately called Xia Yu. "General, what's the matter?" Xia Yu shouted out respectfully. "It's nothing big, I just want you to go and pass the message." Feng Yun said faintly, and his expression wasn't very good. "Ah!" Xia Yu cried out in surprise. "Isn't this a big matter? This is equivalent to sending someone to die." Feng Yun's gaze turned cold. "What? Are you thinking of disobeying a military order?" "I don't dare." Xia Yu hurriedly lowered his head and replied. "Disobeying a military order would result in death, but passing the message might not result in death. This fourth prince is trying to get someone else to do his dirty work. If it's so vicious." Xia Yu didn't have any other choice and asked, "Fourth prince, what do I want to ask?" "Just have them hand over Mu Ran." "All right." Xia Yu rode on his horse and looked at the city wall in front of him. He had a strange feeling that he was going to die soon. Also, that arrow, just now, it said that those who pass the arrow will die. I wonder if that is true or not. Chapter 779. Right now, Xia Yu was trembling with fear. If tens of thousands of arrows were to shoot at him, he would definitely be turned into a hornet's nest. Just thinking about it made his scalp numb. Yi Hua looked at Xia Yu, who walked out from the army. "Who is this person?" "He is the former royal family of Lingtai country," Mu Ran said lightly. Those who didn't know would have thought that the two of them were together. They were actually chatting casually. Yi Hua understood. So that's the case. Interesting. Yi Hua waved his hand towards Serena, who was behind him. The latter ignored him and immediately started making arrangements. Xia Yu rode his horse and arrived at the center of the city. The cold wind caused his arms to become stiff. He could only look up at the 300 m tall city wall. Just as Xia Yu was panicking, the war drums suddenly sounded out again. The war drums this time were different from before. The war drums brought along a very impassioned mood. Flags could be seen being erected on the city wall. Along with the cold wind, an enormous pressure immediately swept over. How could the war horse that Xia Yu was riding on endure such an imposing aura? It immediately became very agitated. Xia Yu accidentally fell off the war horse and landed on the snowy ground. He was in a sorry state, and the war horse immediately ran away. Seeing this scene, Yi Hua revealed a smile of disdain. Truly a little weak, unable to be brought onto the stage. Xia Yu, who landed on the snowy ground, was very embarrassed. His originally pale face had now become red. "Right now, I can only walk up." With heavy footsteps, Xia Yu gradually walked to the city gate and discovered a problem. "Even if I shout till my throat breaks, the people on the city gate won't be able to hear me." Just as Xia Yu was thinking of a way, the huge city gate actually slowly opened. This caused Xia Yu to unconsciously take a step back. The battle is imminent, and they actually opened the city gate. What is the meaning of this? Right now, Ma Ji and Feng Meiying were also very puzzled. They didn't understand the other party's intention. This is too careless, isn't it? Everyone looked at the city gate, seemingly wanting to see who would appear. However, everyone was about to be disappointed. The person that appeared was not a human, it was a husky. Sending out a dog. Is this a mockery from Wushu Empire? The 300,000 troops were burning with rage. This is a blatant mockery. To send out a dog to negotiate, this is too much. Mu Ran also saw that Yun Lang had walked out. She was puzzled. Yun Lang was looking down on the emperor. Why would the emperor do this? This would infuriate the other party. Even if she wanted to reconcile later, it would be impossible. Letting a dog out, His Majesty. Mu Ran couldn't help but ask curiously. Yihua took a look at Mu Ran, then said faintly, "This is already thinking very highly of them." Mu Ran did not speak. She was thinking about what she was going to say later. Below, Xia Yu saw a dog walking towards him. That silver fur, those strange eyes, seemed to be revealing something. He couldn't move at all. What kind of dog was this? How could it have such an ability? Yun Lang circled around Xia Yu and sniffed the air out of conditioned reflex. After that, he discovered that, why did I have to sniff the air? I am not a real dog, I am a fake dog. Seems like I have gotten used to being a dog recently, and all of my actions are subconscious. Yun Lang gave Xia Yu a disdainful gaze and slightly raised his head. This was the contempt of a king. Suppressing the panic in his heart, Xia Yu yelled, "Let Mu Ran go. I'll spare your lives." Yihua was naturally able to hear Mu Ran's words and said with a smile, "This person's tone is rather big, what do you think, Mu Ran?" Mu Ran did not speak. She felt that she wasn't a hostage at all, but rather an accomplice. Yun Lang shook his head. "Seems like you can't do it, change to another one." In order to achieve fairness, Yun Lang took small steps and walked towards the 300,000-strong army, and his gaze emitted out a different kind of coldness. Death gaze. Xia Yu hurriedly turned around and ran. His words had also arrived. At this moment, the scene became strange. Yun Lang walked over with his head held high and chest puffed out, while Xia Yu was panicking and would even fall down from time to time. This made the 300,000-strong army blush with shame, and they wished that they could kill this fellow who lost his imposing manner. Look at other people's dogs, shouldn't you learn from their footwork? Just like that, I lost the first round. Humans can't be compared to dogs. Not long later, Yun Lang arrived in front of the 300,000-strong army, and as if he was inspecting his own army, it made everyone want to eat dog meat. After all, in this freezing weather, having a plate of dog meat should be very refreshing. This dog is a little strange. Ma Ji said gravely. Fong Meiying also felt it. Although she couldn't put her finger on it, but this dog was definitely not an ordinary dog. Yun Lang could be seen stopping in front of Fong Meiying, then turning around, he raised his leg and gestured, seemingly wanting Fong Meiying to follow him. Don't go. Ma Ji said in a low voice. Fong Meiying paused for a moment. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Towards this kind of dog, Fong Meiying was also very puzzled, but she didn't take action to kill it. If she took action just now, the situation should be even more joyous. If that was the case, Yun Lang would be able to have a full meal. Yun Lang walked at the front, and Fong Meiying followed behind unhurriedly. Fong Meiying appeared to be very confident. After all, she was the strongest out of everyone. Rank 1 Do Huang. Yun Lang directly brought Fong Meiying into the city, and soon after, the city gate closed. The 300,000-strong army was filled with admiration in their hearts. As expected of an elder of Tianliang's sect, just this kind of spirit, who can have it? Charging into a tiger's den alone. Awesome! When Mu Ran, who was on the city gate tower, saw that her master had entered, she became very excited, not knowing what the emperor was doing. Yihua asked indifferently, "You are going to meet with master soon, are you very happy?" "Your Majesty. Just what are you trying to do?" Mu Ran completely didn't know, but at the same time, she really wanted to know. Yi Hua didn't speak and lightly leaned on the city wall, waiting for Fang Meiying to come up. Fang Meiying, who was following behind Yun Lang, was also very puzzled. This dog seems to be bringing me to meet the emperor. Could it be that he isn't afraid that I will directly kill the emperor? Or could it be that he isn't afraid at all? Should I make a move and kill the emperor later on? I have to think about it now. The city gate tower that was 300 meters tall wasn't that easy to climb. After quite a while, Yun Lang brought Fang Meiying to the top of the city wall. Then, Yun Lang squatted at the side and guarded. Teacher Mu Ran shouted out excitedly and immediately pounced into Fang Meiying's embrace. Yi Hua looked at Mu Ran and did not stop Mu Ran. After all, the reason why he called Mu Ran up to Fang Meiying was because he wanted to see the relationship between the two of them. Ran, are you all right? Fang Meiying asked concernedly as she stroked onto Mu Ran's hair. Mu Ran nodded her head. Master, I am very good. The emperor treats me very well too. Speaking of the emperor, Fang Meiying raised her head and looked towards Yi Hua. The impression that this person gives me is a bit frivolous. As an emperor, he is actually slightly leaning on the wall, and he doesn't have any poise at all. Other than that kind of handsome face of his, he is still somewhat useful. Also, the two women that are at the side, their attire is so revealing, with just a look, they are definitely not good people. Chapter 780. Should he just kill him now? No. He was an elder of the Wuliang sect. If he were to kill him in this situation, he would definitely be laughed at. After all, the emperor had invited him here, and if he were to kill him, it would be very shameful. After all, the other party looked very weak. Fang Meiying stood in front of Mu Ran and looked at Yi Hua vigilantly. Yi Hua said faintly, "Don't be nervous, I won't harm you." Fang Meiying was speechless. "I'm considering whether or not I should hurt you. But you said you wouldn't hurt me. Where did your confidence come from?" "Teacher, nothing will happen," Mu Ran said. Mu Ran seemed to have a lot of trust in Yi Hua. When Fang Meiying heard Ran-er's words, she immediately felt that something was wrong. Why was Ran-er speaking up for the other party? Was he under some kind of spell? Fang Meiying quickly held Mu Ran's hand and checked her physical condition. Yi Hua did not stop them and waited quietly. "Master, I'm fine." "I'm fine," Mu Ran whispered. Fang Meiying was very confused. Ran was actually fine, but this was too abnormal. "I rather admire this disciple of yours," Yi Hua said faintly. "What do you want?" Fang Meiying asked coldly. Yi Hua laughed lightly. "You all brought people to my territory, and you all are asking me what I want to do. There's something wrong with your logic. Of course I'm here to look for my disciple," Fang Meiying said in a deep voice. "Is that so? Then, does this emperor understand that once we bring the hostage away, you all will retreat?" Yi Hua asked faintly. Fang Meiying frowned slightly and did not reply. At this time, Mu Ran hurriedly advised, "Master, the emperor has already promised to let me go. Don't attack." "That's right. Mu Ran is right. After all, these are 300,000 lives. Although it looks good to dye the snow red, it's too cruel." Mu Ran was speechless and hurriedly explained, "Master, His Majesty didn't mean that." Her disciple had repeatedly interceded with the emperor, causing Fang Meiying to be in a bad mood. The most urgent thing to do now was to take Ran-er away. "I'm taking him away. If you want to stop me, then come and try," Fang Meiying said coldly and grabbed Mu Ran's hand. "Sure." Yi Hua didn't plan to force Mu Ran to stay. "Follow Master." "Teacher, wait a moment." Mu Ran hurriedly said to Yi Hua, "Your Majesty, my..." Yi Hua knew what Mu Ran wanted to say, don't worry, I won't go so far as to make things difficult for ordinary people. Mu Ran nodded, looked at Song Kong Hong behind her, and reached out to hold her hand. This action made Fong Meiying's face sink. This strong man was wearing an iron mask. What was his relationship with Mu Ran? Thousands of curses floated out from Song Kong Hong's heart. This Mu Ran actually grabbed my hand in front of so many people. He really wanted to shake it off. But his honor has given me an order, I can't shake him off, Master, he saved me twice, Mu Ran explained. Fong Meiying glanced at Song Kong Hong and flew back to her camp with the two of them. Looking at the three people leaving, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. When the 300,000 soldiers saw that Elder Fong had brought them out, they immediately cheered in victory. Elder Fong was truly amazing. This was the first time he had seen someone being taken away by the emperor. This emperor is definitely afraid and doesn't dare to offend the mighty Tianliang sect. When Feng Yun saw that Mu Ran was brought back, he slightly wrinkled his brows, seemingly not very happy. Why did the other party let Mu Ran go so easily? Could it be that the other party is really afraid of Wuliang's sect? This is not a good thing. Tianliang's sect brought so many people over, how could they possibly leave so easily? Could it be that Tianliang's sect wants to take this city for themselves as well? Feng Yun's guess was indeed correct. Before Tianliang's sect came over, Tianliang's sect didn't have any thoughts of taking over the city. They only wanted to exterminate the city. However, right now, Tianliang's sect wants to take over the city as well. After all, this Wushu Empire is truly magnificent. If Tianliang's sect were to move over to Wushu Empire, it would also be something that would gain face for Wushu Empire. After returning to the camp, Mu Ran shouted out respectfully towards Ma Ji, Elder Ma. Ma Ji smiled slightly, Mu Ran, it's good that you are fine. Mu Ran feels guilty for making Master and Elder Ma worried. Ma Ji smiled, then began discussing something with Fong Meiying. Meanwhile, Mu Ran was very puzzled. Didn't Master say that we are leaving? Master, what are you doing? Aren't we going back? Mu Ran asked confusedly. Fong Meiying looked at her disciple and said gravely, Mu Ran, do you know how your senior brother died? Mu Ran nodded her head and said in a low voice, Mu Ran heard about it. Senior brother trespassed into Wushu Empire's airspace and was killed. However, senior sister is fine. Hearing what Mu Ran said, Fong Meiying and Ma Ji were a bit stupefied. Are you blaming your senior brother for trespassing into someone else's territory? Mu Ran. Do you know what you are saying? Fong Meiying reprimanded coldly. Mu Ran also knew that what she said just now was wrong, and felt that she was speaking up for Wushu Empire. Master, I didn't mean it like that, but if we were to fight today, someone would definitely die, Mu Ran doesn't want. Before Mu Ran could finish speaking, Ma Ji said gravely, Mu Ran. Today, we are not only here to save you. We are also here to redeem Tianliang's sect's dignity. But Master, just now, you already agreed, shut up. Are you their people or mine? Fong Meiying shouted out, and she even wanted to slap Mu Ran. Ma Ji said faintly, Mu Ran, in such a small place, do you think that someone would die? In just a few minutes, we would trample over this place. Master. But just now, you clearly promised the Emperor that you would. Slap. Fong Meiying still couldn't help but slap Mu Ran. Song Kong Hong, who was standing at the side, moved slightly, but in the end, she still stopped and didn't make a move. I am here to protect Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Mu Ran held onto her face and looked at Master in disbelief. This is the first time that Master has slapped me. Mu Ran. Look at your position clearly before talking to Master. Fong Meiying shouted out. Mu Ran became silent. I finally know why that emperor said that. What he said is right, even if I come out, they still wouldn't leave, because I am just an excuse for them to mobilize their troops. Yi Hua, who was standing on the city wall, saw everything. Little Mu Ran, you are really pitiful, you got slapped by master, right? You really don't know how to look at the situation, I still need to learn more. Seeing that it was about time, Yi Hua slowly walked down the stairs. Within the army, Feng Yun stood respectfully in front of Fang Meiying and Ma Ji. In his heart, Feng Yun was scolding Fang Meiying for being so shameless, to actually want to let our own people become cannon fodder, but right now, other than agreeing to it, I don't have any other choice. Mu Ran, who was standing at the side, didn't have any other choice. This magnificent Wushu Empire is going to be occupied. I can't let them retreat and deceive the emperor. If I am still in his hands, it might be a bit better. Chapter 781. General, are we going to be cannon fodder? Ding Wenbo asked at the side. Feng Yun's expression was gloomy. If I wait until I become stronger, the first one I will destroy will be Tianliang's sect. Go and arrange for the siege. Feng Yun said gravely. Right at this moment, Feng Yun heard a cry of surprise coming from outside and immediately walked out of the tent. Wushu Empire's gate could be seen opening once again. This time, someone came out. 2 rows of white-armored warriors walked out of the city gate in an orderly manner, forming a long line. Suddenly, a golden carpet was laid out from the city, and it just so happened to be in the middle of the white-armored warriors, giving off the feeling of a nouveau riche. 300,000 people are just quietly watching. What is the meaning of this? The 2 rows of white-armored warriors suddenly stopped their footsteps and stood facing each other. They instantly raised the flag of Wushu Empire and crossed it together. And in the city, 3 figures appeared. Yi Hua stepped on the golden carpet, and the Blood Race sisters followed behind him. The 3 slowly walked out. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. This emperor sure knows how to act cool. And there are 300,000 spectators watching him act cool. Right now, Yi Hua was feeling very good. Although there wasn't any big scene, this kind of low-profile acting cool still felt very good. After walking to the end of the golden carpet, Yi Hua stopped his footsteps. At this moment, the sunlight in the sky suddenly shifted and actually shone on Yi Hua's body, causing the emperor's gown to shine brightly, looking very dazzling. This added a different kind of acting cool. 300,000 people looked at this emperor, and their minds were all stupefied. This is the first time, this is really the first time, Yi Hua, who was standing below the flag, said to the 300,000 people, heavens. If you all retreat, I will let bygones be bygones, but if you all continue to persist in going about things the wrong way, this snowy land will be the best place for you all to return to. I never lie. Everyone immediately became silent. You are King bragging, right? We haven't even seen the regular army, and you still dare to say that you are going to destroy us. This emperor not only knows how to act cool, he also knows how to brag. Later on, I will let you see what is called awesome. Yi Hua turned around and walked into the city with a smile of disdain on the corner of his mouth. Actually, I can choose not to come out, but I like to be benevolent, so I will still give them a way out. As for their choice, it is unknown. Yi Hua didn't continue going up the city gate and returned to the palace. I will leave this place to the Blood Race sisters, it is more than enough. After all, in this kind of small situation, the Supreme Overlord had already given a lot of face by coming forward to say a few words. When the 300,000 people realized that the emperor did not go up to the tower to observe, they all laughed. The emperor had run away, leaving only the 2 women to watch the show. Even Fang Meiying and Ma Ji felt the same way. There was a light smile on their lips. This city was too easy to come to. It was really effortless to come here. The emperor was probably preparing to escape through the secret passage, leaving behind 2 women to bring up the rear. However, Mu Ran, who was behind him, did not think so. The emperor was definitely not someone who would run away. And those subordinates of the emperor, only 2 women came out. Those 2 women seemed to be standing at the back that day, and those people who were standing at the front didn't even appear. Mu Ran had a bad premonition. Although her teacher had hit her just now, she still couldn't help but to persuade her teacher again, "Teacher." But before Mu Ran could finish, Feng Meiying said coldly, "Mu Ran, don't think that you can criticize Master's words and actions just because you are the heavenly Tao now." Mu Ran didn't say anything. Meanwhile, on Feng Yun's side, he was already preparing to take action. The exclusive weapon for breaking through the city gate had already been prepared. It was a huge iron rod that was black, big, and thick. This wasn't any ordinary fine iron, it was made from meteorite iron, and such a big piece of iron was definitely worth a lot. From this, it could be seen that Feng Yongzhang was also very meticulous this time, giving all of the good stuff to his son. However, Feng Yun was rather smart. He only sent 50,000 soldiers to take the lead in charge at the city gate, and the black rod that was being carried by the wheels of the carriage followed along as well. Kill! 50,000 soldiers roared out furiously, pulled out their swords, and charged towards Wushu Empire. An austere aura immediately engulfed the entire battlefield. Feng Yun closely observed the situation of the battlefield, and Ding Wenbo, who was behind him, wrinkled his brows and said, "General, the other party doesn't seem to be moving at all." Feng Yun naturally also discovered that there weren't any archers on top of the city wall, and all of the soldiers were standing on the ground, not having any intention to engage in battle at all. Are they planning to surrender? If that's the case, it's too easy for me, and I have completely given everything to Tianliang's sect. All of the benefits belong to them, and I don't even have the chance to get any leftovers, damn it. However, right at this moment, the sky that was originally clear gradually darkened, and snow started falling once again. The density of the snow made everyone puzzled. I have never seen snow falling like this before. Everything in front of me is actually completely blank, just like a snowy sunset. The hands of the Blood Ray sisters that were standing on top of the city wall were emitting out white light. During these few years, everyone in the team had been training hard, especially those that were lagging behind. They didn't dare to slack off at all. Strength is indeed very strong. However, from that battle with Nanwuchi, they also realized that strength isn't invincible. One still needs to know a bit of magic, and this was also the shortcoming of most people. This move of the Blood Ray sisters was taught by Yu Hua. Although it wasn't as powerful as Yu Hua, it was still enough. This kind of snowy sunset only appeared on the battlefield, and the 50,000 soldiers seemed to have lost their target. They couldn't differentiate between north and south, and didn't know which direction they should charge towards. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun didn't know why, but he felt a bit happy. Seems like the other party still has some strength, and I thought that I would be able to deal with them with just my own people. Feng Meiying and Ma Zhi's originally relaxed expression gradually became grave. This kind of snowstorm is not normal. Mu Ran looked at the spectacle in front of her, and suddenly felt that the emperor didn't lie to her. The blood of 300,000 people splashed onto the snowy ground. This isn't impossible. The falling snow in the sky gradually turned into hail. The smallest was actually the size of a fist, and the biggest was at least the size of an adult. Falling from a height of 10,000 meters, it was extremely terrifying. Furthermore, the density of the hail made it so that there was no way for people to escape, and the 50,000 soldiers immediately let out miserable screams, and those that had shields immediately raised up. However, when those huge hailstones fell onto the shields, they were unable to withstand it, and they immediately fainted. Then, they fell onto the snowy ground and got trampled on by the people beside them, or get hit by the hailstones again. Basically, if the hailstones hit their heads, it would be game over. The miserable screams within the battlefield became softer and softer, and soon, there was nothing left. However, not even a minute passed by. when the snowy sunset dispersed, only the white snowy ground was left, and everyone was buried within the snowy ground, because there were some places that were still blood red. The remaining 250,000 people were already stupefied. This snowstorm alone buried 50,000 people. This is simply too savage. This is simply inhumane. Chapter 782. That beautiful face was filled with bloodlust, and her eyes were gradually turning red. This was not a cry, but a sign unique to the Blood Clan. Feng Yun stood outside the tent, not feeling sad for the 50,000 dead warriors, and even felt that it was quite good. Now, your Tianliang sect should send troops, you can't let me keep sending people to die. However, just as Feng Yun finished thinking, a disciple came over and asked Feng Yun to go over. Feng Yun, of course, didn't dare to disobey, and went to Wuliang's sect's camp. Senior, Junior's warriors are all ordinary people, we can't do anything about this situation, please make a decision. Feng Yun said respectfully. Feng Meiying was silent. Ma Ji said indifferently, continue sending troops, I have a way this time. Hearing this, Feng Yun's face changed, but he lowered his head so no one noticed. This person is so ruthless. Let all my people die, and then they will find a way to solve this. Tianliang sect is really ruthless, today I learned something new. Mu Ran, who was standing behind, was also very surprised. Elder Ma actually wanted to send people to die, is Tianliang sect so unreasonable? Mu Ran had only been in Tianliang sect for a short 3 years. In these 3 years, Tianliang sect didn't have any wars. In Mu Ran's eyes, Tianliang sect was still very good. But today, he saw clearly that Tianliang sect was also a sect that didn't care about human lives. Mu Ran's heart was filled with disappointment. Go quickly. What are you waiting for? Ma Ji shouted coldly. Feng Yun's forehead was bulging with blue veins, should he say no? If he said yes, and Feng Yun dared to say it, he would die on the spot. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. I, Feng Yun, will remember this debt. Yes. Feng Yun replied respectfully, and then returned to his camp. Ding Wenbo quickly asked, General, what's wrong? Damn Tianliang sect, they're too much. Feng Yun's fist slammed on the table. General, does Tianliang sect still want us to send people? This is too hateful. Then tell me, is there any other way? If I don't obey, we will be the ones to die. Feng Yun rubbed his forehead and said coldly. I swear. I must destroy Tianliang sect. Ding Wenbo didn't say anything, and Xia Yu was still standing on the side. A short while later, Feng Yun waved his hand, go make the arrangements. Yes. Ding Wenbo accepted the order and went to make arrangements. This was completely sending others to their deaths. As expected, when Ding Wenbo announced the order, the remaining 50,000 soldiers began to discuss among themselves. Some even disobeyed. However, the general was a ruthless person, killing decisively, immediately suppressing everyone. Soldiers, Cold Sky sect has an idea this time, it won't be like before. Ding Wenbo shouted loudly, as if he was using this method to stabilize the morale of the army. However, Ding Wenbo was a civil official after all. This kind of rhetoric had no effect at all, and it even attracted more retorts. In the end, he was suppressed. However, the soldiers had no choice. There was an order from above. Even if it was an abyss in front of them, they had to jump in. But was it really worth it? Even if he had to die in battle, at least there would be an enemy. Look at Voidless Empire, their soldiers are all standing on top of the city walls and didn't come down at all. However, their own people have indeed died. The remaining 50,000 soldiers of the Duchy of Gouda slowly walked out. They no longer had the aura of wanting to kill. Every step they took was very careful. Snow began to fall from the dark sky once again, and the scene was exactly the same as before. This caused the 50,000 soldiers to be terrified to the extreme. In an instant, they began to run in disorder. Hailstones had already formed above the clouds, and as long as the hailstones descend, these 50,000 soldiers would fall once again. Solidify. Maji's hands could be seen immediately forming hand seals, and a yellow light could be seen appearing in the sky. A yellow dot could be seen spreading out in the shape of a fan, enveloping the entire battlefield. The heavy snow immediately stopped. The 50,000 soldiers saw that Cold Sky sect had made their move, and when the hailstones landed on the shield, they were unable to smash into the shield. Gradually, the 50,000 soldiers began to cheer, picked up their blades, and once again rushed towards the city gate. Maji sneered, "You dare to be impudent in front of me with such insignificant skills, you are truly courting death." When the hailstones landed on the shield, all of the hailstones shattered. The hailstones were unable to pierce through the shield at all, and the shield protected the 50,000 soldiers below. Just when those 50,000 soldiers were feeling happy, the hailstones in the sky gradually changed. Just like daggers, the hailstones descended from the sky with cold glints. The degree of density of the hailstones caused people to feel numb, especially for people who had trypophobia, they would feel numb. Countless ice blades forcefully stabbed into the shield, but they were unable to pierce into the shield. Maji was in the middle of releasing the ice blades, and he was continuously strengthening the shield, and cold sweat could be seen appearing on his forehead. Right at this moment, an extremely large ice blade appeared in the sky. Compared to the other small ice blades, those are all ants. This is what Big Brother is. The extremely large ice blade that brought along a cold glint pressed straight towards the shield. Even Fong Meiying was dumbfounded for a moment. What kind of spell is this? It is so powerful. The extremely large ice blade pierced through the shield without any difficulty, and Ma Ji couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood, suffering from the backlash. The extremely large ice blade that landed on the ground was like a small mountain, and in an instant, quite a number of people were crushed to death. Without the protection of the shield, those countless small ice blades that landed on the ground were densely packed, and no one was able to escape from this kind of attack. This was the legendary knife of the underworld. In an instant, all 50,000 soldiers fell onto the ground, and warm blood sprayed onto the snowy ground, forming a magnificent picture. Just like what Yihua said, this snowy ground would be dyed with the blood of 300,000 soldiers. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun found it hard to believe. It's over. This is the first time I went out to battle, and my entire army was wiped out. How am I going to explain this to my father when I return? I am completely unable to explain this to my father. Furthermore, if my father emperor were to know about this, he would definitely be angered to death. Because this is a battle that paved the way for me. It is all this damn Tianliang sect's fault. Why don't all of you go and die? Elder Fong, are you all right? Fong Meiying, who was at the side, asked gravely. I'm all right, I was careless. Ma Ji said coldly. Just now, I also made a fool out of myself, and I actually vomited blood. If this were to be spread back to the sect, wouldn't I become a laughingstock? Fong Meiying said faintly, those 100,000 soldiers did not die in vain, I have a way to deal with them. When Mu Ran heard what her master said, her heart skipped a beat. To actually say that those 100,000 soldiers died in vain, I feel that my master has become a stranger in front of me. Following Fong Meiying's command, the 100,000 soldiers of Tianliang's sect walked out. This was 100,000 dojia. Their strength cannot be underestimated, and they are truly terrifying. And Fong Meiying already has a way to break the enemy's technique. The 100,000 disciples of Tianliang's sect shouted out, and all of them started their charging mode, and Fong Meiying had already started his preparations. However, this time, there was no snowstorm. This made Feng Meiying very puzzled, and the 100,000 disciples that were present were all puzzled. Chapter 783. Looking at the situation, Feng Meiying gradually became serious. The other party does not intend to use the same trick again. What are they trying to do? The 100,000 people at the scene looked at the surroundings vigilantly. The snow on the ground moved faster and faster, to the point that it even swept up the corpses that were just killed. The strange scene made everyone's heart turn cold. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun's back turned cold. Just when did Wushu Empire appear? Just what is going to happen? Seeing this scene, Mu Ran became even more certain of the emperor's words. If they don't leave, everyone will die here. Suddenly, Mu Ran thought of something. No wonder the emperor handed me over so easily, because he has the confidence to capture me back and let me see everyone's face. What kind of person was this emperor? Why was his mind so meticulous? Every step seemed to be within his calculations. So terrifying. Elder Feng, this Wushu Empire is a bit strange. Right now, Mo Ji was a bit worried as well. He discovered that things aren't as simple as he thought. Feng Meiying's expression was grave as she turned her head and asked Mu Ran, "You have stayed here for a period of time, just how strong is this Wushu Empire?" No matter what, Feng Meiying was her teacher. Mu Ran said respectfully, "Teacher, disciple does not know how strong they are. This Wushu Empire doesn't have any officials, other than the emperor and the 2 empresses. There are still 20+ subordinates, and the 2 people who are standing on the city wall are precisely one of those subordinates." Hearing Mu Ran's words, Feng Meiying and Ma Ji became even more grave. Just a moment ago, they were still laughing at the emperor for running away and leaving behind 2 women. It seems like the emperor didn't even bother to continue watching and left behind 2 women to clean up. Just as the 2 were guessing, a terrifying thing happened at the scene. The snow on the ground quickly moved and formed into 5 snowballs that were 300 meters tall. That was about the same height as the city wall. However, the 5 snowballs actually stretched out their legs, hands, and even their heads. Adding on the legs and heads, the height had already surpassed the city wall, and the 100,000 disciples on the ground were just like ants. What was terrifying was that on the bodies of the 5 snowmen, all of them were people who had just died, and they were all embedded in the bodies of the snowmen. Half of the faces were smashed off, and the snowmen even used 100 human heads as their eyes, causing people to tremble in fear. What kind of monster is this? Mo Ji raised his head and looked at the enormous snowmen and muttered. Feng Meiying didn't know what to say. Her eyes were filled with horror. Mu Ran was also dumbfounded and in disbelief. Beside her, Zhang Konghong was very calm. If Yu Hua was here, it would be even more spectacular. At that time, it would not be 5, but 50. However, now that he thought of moonlight, Zhang Konghong felt very calm. This made Zhang Konghong a little puzzled. When Feng Yun saw this scene, his intestines turned green with regret. Were they paving the way for him, or were they using him to pave the way? This kind of snowman, just one of them would be enough to destroy Gouda Principality, let alone 5 of them right now. Damn it, you immortals are fighting, why do you have to call a mortal like me? Shameless. Shameless. The ones who were most afraid were the 100,000 disciples on the battlefield. They had all forgotten to run, and their faces were filled with despair. No one knew who gave the order to run, but everyone followed. The 5 snowmen didn't do anything else. They just lifted their feet and stomped down. 5 loud sounds rang out across the world, causing the ground to tremble. Even those in Wushu Empire could feel it. It was unknown how many people would die from the stomp of those enormous feet. All of the disciples rolled and crawled as they ran. They didn't have any desire to fight at all. Meanwhile, the 100,000 disciples who were standing and watching the battle felt their bodies go numb. With 5 stomps, at least a few thousand would die, and with a few more stomps, all of them would definitely die. Ma Ji and Feng Meiying took a look at each other, then released all of their duqi and condensed into swords in their hands. Immediately, they attacked towards the snowmen. If the two of them didn't make a move now, it would be impossible to save the situation. The 5 snowmen continued to stomp, and the disciples on the ground fled in panic. I don't want to die. Isn't Tianliang sect the strongest sect in northern Liang? Why is there an existence that is even more powerful than Tianliang sect? Don't step on it. No matter how these disciples ran, they couldn't outrun the stomping of the snowmen. The 5 snowmen were just like stepping on ants, one stomp after another. In just a short while, almost all of the 100,000 disciples died on the spot. Sky profound sword technique. Ma Ji shouted out furiously. His peak stage king realm strength was unleashed with all his might. His body emitted a faint radiance, and the sword in his hand released a sword light that pressed straight towards the head of the snowman. Hua! The sword light easily penetrated the head of the snowman, but what were snowmen made of? They weren't living things, therefore, this kind of damage could be ignored. The head that was cut open actually gradually closed up, and then, as if nothing had happened, it continued to stomp. How is this possible? Ma Ji, who was holding the sword in his hand, muttered. However, just when Ma Ji was lost in thought, one of the snowmen actually didn't continue to step on the disciples, but instead, sneak attacked Ma Ji. Be careful. Feng Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. When Ma Ji reacted, it was already too late. The snowman's fist fiercely hit Ma Ji's body. Ma Ji's body smashed into the ground like a cannonball, creating a huge pit. The disciples were all stunned. This was Elder Feng, who was at the peak of King Realm. He was actually smashed into the ground by a snowman, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. What kind of strength did these 5 snowmen have? Why were there such monsters in this world? God, please come and take them in. Feng Meiying didn't hold back anymore. She instantly displayed the strength of a first-grade King Realm Do, and a terrifying Do Chi spread out. Illusion Breaker. Heaven Sword Art. The sword in Feng Meiying's hand flew towards the sky and released a dazzling light. A huge sword image appeared in the sky, and it carried along a terrifying destructive power. I will let you all experience what is called death. Feng Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. Her finger immediately pointed towards the city gate, seemingly wanting to use the sword to cut down the city gate of Wushu Empire. The huge sword image descended with a terrifying pressure. When the 5 snowmen saw this situation, they actually chose to stand under the huge sword and raised their hands. Those who didn't know might have thought that they were going to surrender. This move was one of Feng Meiying's ultimate moves, and she wouldn't use it unless she had no other choice. After all, this was a trump card. Bang! The huge sword image landed on the hands of the 5 snowmen and released a terrifying aura. This caused the disciples present to be dumbstruck. Is this the strength of a King Realm Do? This is completely not the same level as a King Realm Do. As expected of Elder Feng, she was able to suppress these 5 monsters by herself. Feng Yun was also dumbstruck. This Cold Sky sect is indeed very powerful, and this woman is also the same. To actually be able to suppress the snowmen, she is truly very powerful. Mu Ran was also very surprised. Teacher is truly very powerful, bang. Chapter 784. The sword images disappeared as well, and Feng Meiying's breathing became a little hurried. Using this ultimate move brought me a very strong feeling of fatigue, but if I don't use it, there is no better way. Right now, the do chi in my body is a little chaotic. Seems like attacking Wushu Empire this time was still too rash. I should have sent a few more elders, or a peak Emperor Realm sect leader, that way, I might still have a chance of winning. But luckily, I managed to get rid of those 5 monsters. Fong Meiying turned her head and looked at Ma Ji, who was in the hole. I don't know if he is dead or alive. I didn't expect those snowmen to be so strong. A peak Emperor Realm martial artist couldn't even withstand a single punch from them. Serena, who was on the city wall, rubbed her little sister's shoulder. You are driving a car again. Big sister, sorry, I was just thinking about what to eat tonight. Serena said apologetically. So embarrassing. Serena rolled her eyes at her little sister. Do you think I don't know you? Don't you know what you want to eat? Sister, you're so annoying. Don't you like to eat it as well? Serene raised her eyebrows. She had a look that said, aren't you the same? How dare you lecture me? Concentrate, I am doing something. Serena nodded her head seriously. The 2 sisters started casting again. While Fong Meiying, who was in the sky, was thinking, a terrifying do chi fluctuation gathered below. Fong Meiying immediately retreated and looked at the pile of snow vigilantly. Everyone felt the terrifying aura that the pile of snow was emitting, and fear appeared in their eyes. Why did I have to come here? Isn't it better to stay in Tianliang's sect and train? Why do I have to fight and kill? I hate fighting and killing. If these people had already attacked Wushu Empire, they would definitely not hate fighting and killing, and might even like fighting and killing. The pile of snow that had already collapsed once again fused together. Just now, there were 5 snowmen, but this time, there was only 1 snowman. The height of the snowman didn't change, but its body became more robust. All of the corpses formed every detail of its body. Chest muscles, abdominal muscles, shark lines, mermaid lines, the veins on its arms were all formed by corpses. That huge head was even more terrifying. Blood was still dripping down from it. The huge snowman seemed to have a life of its own as it shook its head and swept its gaze across everyone. The snowman could be seen clenching its fists, slightly bowing its body and letting out a terrifying roar. This roar made everyone's hair stand up, and they could even smell the blood that the snowman spat out. Fong Meiying finally revealed a look of panic. If these snow corpses were only Do Huang's. In that case, he was already a Do Huang. His strength was already on par with him, or even slightly stronger. Fong Meiying couldn't care less. She turned around and shouted, "Retreat!" The 10 battle arcs were ready to retreat at any time. Roar! The snow corpse roared angrily and exerted force with its legs. A powerful shock wave burst forth from the ground, and the snow corpse soared high into the air, leaping towards the battleship. The scene left everyone dumbfounded. The snow corpse was like a huge gorilla, using its terrifying jumping ability to draw a beautiful arc in the air. Boom, boom, boom. The snow corpses landed abruptly, and everyone could feel their feet trembling. The battleships were like pieces of wood, crushed by the snow corpses. The other battleships were then used by the snow corpses to play with. The huge battleship was like a child's toy to the snow corpses. Mu Ran gulped and finally admitted a cruel fact. The Emperor was not bragging. What he said was the truth. Today, all 300,000 people are going to die here. Light of world, lock. Fong Meiying shouted, and a rope condensed in her hand and flew towards the snow corpse. The purple rope instantly wrapped around the snow corpse and tied it tightly. It was commonly known as Asian binding. Mu Ran. Bring everyone and retreat. Fong Meiying shouted. She channeled all of her do chi into the snow corpse and firmly tied it up. The snow corpse that was tied up seemed to be very angry. Its body seemed to have become a lot bigger, and one could even see its muscles expanding. Hearing her master's words, Mu Ran immediately arranged for everyone to retreat. However, how are we going to retreat now? Turn around and run. 100,000 people turned around and ran. Feng Yun didn't have much time to think and immediately rode on his horse and ran. If I don't run now, then when will I run? It's normal for me to stay at home and develop my strength. Why did I have to come out? Isn't it better to hide in the palace and develop my strength? Wouldn't it be better to wait until all the generals are selected before coming out? I am really stupid. However, after running for a few hundred meters, everyone suddenly fell down, seemed to have bumped into something. One of the disciples who fell down touched onto the ground confusedly. Although he couldn't see anything, it was very obvious that he touched onto something. Some people began to beat onto the ground ferociously, but no matter what, it was useless. Despair, a deep despair spread out in everyone's heart. They were trying to exterminate everyone here. Turning around and looking at that enormous snow corpse, Elder Fong is unable to hold on for much longer. That purple rope seems to be about to break. If we don't run out, everyone is going to die. My emperor gave you all a chance to live. It is you all who did not cherish it. Today, the blood of 300,000 people will be sprinkled onto this land. There will be no mercy. Serena's words drifted into everyone's ears. After the remaining 100,000 disciples heard what Serena said, they began to beg bitterly. I am also obeying the emperor's orders. I don't have the intention to go against you. I beg Wushu Empire to spare my lives. Mu Ran, who was within the group, was a bit dazed. She didn't know what to do. The emperor had already said these words to me. Why didn't they listen to me and insist on letting everyone die here? Why? Fong Meiying looked towards the blood sisters on the city wall. It seems like she is planning to capture the leader first, and that snow corpse is about to break free. Roar! Before the snow corpse finished speaking, the snow corpse roared furiously, and the purple rope on its body instantly broke apart, transforming into stars and disappeared. The snow corpse glared angrily at Fong Meiying, who was in midair, and the muscles on its body squirmed. Then, the snow corpse shot out explosively. Its speed was so fast that it made one speechless. And Fong Meiying did the same as well. She slashed towards the blood sisters with her sharp sword. The blood sisters looked at Fong Meiyen, who was attacking towards them. They did not take any defensive measures, seemingly intending to let Fong Meiyen kill them as she pleased. Fong Meiying was overjoyed in her heart. As long as I kill these two women, this snow corpse will disappear. These two demonesses, this elder is going to dismember the two of you into pieces. Fong Meiying's speed was indeed very fast, but the snow corpse wasn't slow either. Although its body was huge, its arms were extremely long. If not, why would others feel that it looked like a gorilla? Go and die. 10,000 spirit magic sword. Fong Meiying shouted out, and the long sword in her hand emitted out a golden brilliance. The little sister Serena said with a slight smile, "Be careful of your back." Fong Meiying's gaze sank, and a huge palm could be seen stretching over, then grabbing out. A terrifying sword aura erupted from the snow corpse's palm. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.